What is up? What's the deal? It's that time, it's that hour. It's righteous. With another video, we got Kenny calling in. As promised.
What up, man?
What's going on, bro? We got a practitioner of Jeet Kune Do and fighter Kenny Lopez. What is going on, my brother?
Yeah, long time, don't hear from. I know since the lockdown, you haven't really been active, so I think that has a lot more to do with, personal, issues going on.
Yeah.
Everybody's had their own personal issues since the pandemic. So what's been going on with you?
Everything's been good for the most part, bro. I've been trying to just build on whatever I had going on from before. Yeah, I had some like turn of events with family issues and whatnot, but we got to keep trucking on. Us as men, as leaders, we got to keep going. There's no stopping. So yeah, I had some hiccups here and there, but I'm back and I'm here to stay for real, man, because this is a dream of mine to talk sports, and that's what we're doing right now.
Yeah. Now I wanted to say, can you hear me well on the phone?
Oh, it sounds loud and clear. Things are much different now. I think the mic I got now is much better than the last time, so I can hear you.
Okay, as long as you can hear me clear, that's the main thing. Because if you can hear me clear, then everybody else better hear me.
I would hope so. And as soon as we get some viewers in, they will be able to tell us. But I think you sound clear for sure.
Okay. Yeah. But anyways, yeah, everything with me is good too. I've been going through my, personal issues too since the lockdown pandemic, mostly money issues. So,
yeah,
that caused some problems. But I'm not the only one in that, situation. A lot of people have been dealing with that.
Exactly.
So.
For sure.
But everything's a lot better though now. It's not as good as it once was, but it's better, and it will eventually get even better. So.
I remember the last time we spoke through Messenger, you were dealing with a hurricane before the pandemic. If I'm not mistaken, maybe I got it twisted or something. But it's crazy. Like there's so much things have happened.
Yeah, that was right after the Jeff Horn fight. Yeah, there was a hurricane, Hurricane Irma. Because Jeff Horn fight was in 2017. That's when he got robbed. And so yeah, it was. I don't know if it was before the hurricane we did the interview or after, but I know it was. The Irma did hit us in 2017. Yeah, that is true. I went through it. I was in Irma, the hurricane.
I remember you didn't even want to leave, but you had your own reasons, and I respect it. It's just wild how the turn of events happened.
I wasn't gonna leave because it was like it was no point of leaving. It was too many people leaving at that point, and Florida, there's only one way out. It's not like you in other state like New York. You got so many different places you could leave to, or if you was in the middle states or whatnot, like on the Southwest, or Midwest. You got Florida. There's only one way out, so the traffic was too heavy. You know what I'm saying? So it would have took too long to actually get out of the state. So I was like, nah, I'm gonna just stay here. I'm not going through all that shit. That took like a whole day to leave. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and you probably been through a couple of hurricanes.
Yeah.
You already savvy. You're seasoned in.
Exactly. So, but yeah, as far as we can talk about that's just the boxing, but the Jeet Kune Do stuff, if you want, the martial arts, and
for sure,
throwing some little MMA questions if you want, and because I'm still doing martial arts, still actually teaching.
That's what's up.
You know what I'm saying? I could talk about different things. There's this guy on YouTube by the name of Viking Samurai. He actually just had Tommy Carruthers on his YouTube page and podcast, and he was talking about Jeet Kune Do. But I had a little recent beef with this guy, Tommy Carruthers, but it's not, it wasn't really no beef. It was just him trying to challenge me and stuff. And Don Juan actually did an interview with me about it, and I actually got a video on it. If you go and check, it's, how I exposed this guy about the Jeet Kune Do stuff. And
what?
If we want, we could talk about that.
I would love to talk about some smoke, man. Wait, so when was this video done? When did you make the video with Don Juan? Yo, shout out to Don Juan, man. That's the homie right there, bro.
Oh yeah, he's doing good. I talked to him, about 2 weeks ago. I hadn't heard from him in a long time either. He was away for a while too. And
yeah,
I think he had closed his youth. He's down for a while, but he he got back. He did contact me, and see how I was doing and stuff, and wanted to talk to me about the fight too, and so. But yeah, I was thinking about you as well because I remember we did an interview before, and I hadn't heard from you. I hadn't heard from you in a long time, and I was like, damn, I got to do. I wonder how he's doing, Raphael, because I hadn't heard from you in so long. So
yeah, I disappeared.
You reached out and contacted me.
I ghosted. I basically stayed with my trusted circle over here in Vegas, and I just had to recuperate. But at the same time, I love this YouTube thing, and I'm for sure trying to do my work on my dreams when it comes to either voice acting or some kind of sports announcing. That's my goal right now. I'm going to school for it. I have a coach. I'm not playing around. That's why I got my walls.
Yeah, you're good at it too. You're really good at it, man. Keep doing your thing, and like I said, I don't mind interviews with you. I'm always up for that. You can talk about anything. You know what I'm saying, and that's a good thing. I think you'll excel in that.
Thank you, and I do want to talk about the smoke, but there is one question I wanted to bring up to you that we didn't talk about, and before we set this interview up, but I don't think it's gonna take you off what you usually are used to, because I do think you like hip hop. So if you could quickly tell me, so we could wait for some fans to come in. I want to see what you felt about the versus battle between Dipset and the Lox. Did you watch it?
Yeah, of course. I'm a hip hop head. I grew up, hip hop in the early '90s. I was listening to rap back then in the late '80s, early '90s when I was 10, 11. When hip hop was in its golden era and peak. So, hip hop is something that ain't going nowhere. But I just don't listen to the new shit. Like this all this mumble rap shit. You know what I'm saying? I can't get into that stuff. That's not artistic. That's not creative. That's not what I grew up on. That's not hip hop. That's like, it is hip hop, you know what I'm saying? But it's, I feel that it's taken away from hip hop when you got to, dumb it down
I agree.
that. Of course, kids today going to talk about the things they can relate to, but still, you got to have an artist create something. So if you just mumbling, not saying nothing and talking about dumb shit, like, using drugs, for instance,
right.
If you're going to talk about that, because these kids nowadays, they talk about that because they use drugs, but back then we actually sold drugs to get out of the hood. Or we talked about it because that's what was being put in, you know what I'm saying, in the ghettos and stuff during that time period. So that's what we talked about. Yeah. But say in a creative way, if you're going to talk about that stuff, you know what I'm saying, have substance behind it. And I can't get into this new shit. I can't get into it. That's why. So I don't even know half of these young dudes. Like some of them I know, like the Lil Nas X dude, and come on, man, that's a perfect example of what I'm talking about. Shit like that. But none of these dudes, I can't. I won't waste my time listening to it unless I hear something that I feel is necessary or it's worth it. But as for the versus battle, yeah, I listened to the versus battle, and the versus battle was it was fire. I mean, it brought back a lot of memories.
Facts.
I mean, I love Kiss and the Lox. I grew up listening to. And when Kiss came out, I remember when Jadakiss first came out, when Biggie put him out, he was like a newcomer at that time. Him, Styles P, and Sheik, they wasn't well known at that time. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So, and then of course they got signed with the Rough Riders. You know what I mean? They signed them and stuff, and that's when Jadakiss and Styles and them really blew up and showcased and showed their talent at that time. More so than when Diddy had signed them, when P Diddy had signed them. So I think that the versus battle was a great thing for hip hop. It actually, showed the younger generation of today what true hip hop is, because that's the shit they listen to is not real hip hop. But it didn't surprise me of the end result. I knew that Kiss, they Cam and them, and Joel Santana, Jim Jones are having them for Jada, Styles, and Sheik, especially Kiss. I like Cam. I mean, Dipset's still high. I still listen to their shit. Especially Cam, so they don't take away from their abilities and Cameron's abilities. Because Cameron always been a nice MC, but I knew he wasn't on no Jadakiss level. I always knew that, and we seen the end result. Everybody's seen it.
The crazy thing is that, like, I really feel like Cameron, if he would have just went on his own, he would have had a little bit of a better chance when it comes to just keeping the fans on his side, because the thing is with Dipset, they got so many different sounds and different types of presentations. Because you know, Jewels doesn't rap like a normal MC, like Jadakiss or Styles P. You know what I'm saying? Like he got this whole way of rapping where he goes in and out. Sometimes he'll let the beat, you know, keep going and he'll just stop and then he'll just start rapping again. It's like, whoa, you know, that style is a little different. And then you got Jim Jones, they got different DJs for each dude. Like, yo, it would have been better just you if you would have just brought Cameron, you know what I'm saying? Like Cameron got some tracks too, man. With like Prodigy, he got a track with Prodigy that's super hard. I don't know, man. I think they dropped the ball a little bit, but I was going for D Block anyway. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah. I think you're right. Correct. I mean, they all have different ways of rhyming, and it's not really consistent, and that's what the problem was. And Jewels, you know, Jewels is good. I mean, like I said, Jewels is nice. Cameron, I just think a lot of it has to do with your selections of songs too, consistency, because. Yeah. You know, Jada had songs that he could have put out that he didn't put out, like like "Feel Me" or "Still Feel Me," and "Child Abuse." He had that freestyle called "Child." Could have put that out.
Or "Why?"
He had what was it? The song with Joey Crack, Fat Joe, and Remy Ma, "Live My Life." You know what I'm saying? Take a look. That took him like, "Live My Life." And then, he had so much shit. Jada had so many things he could have put out that he didn't even put out on the verses that a lot of these people didn't hear. So, and then same with Cam. Cam had shit too he could have put out. So it has to do with when you do a versus battle, you got to really be on point with the selection of songs. You got to have that like really figured out. You got to know, like me and you could do a versus battle between Biggie and Tupac, but if you bring out a Biggie song, you know what I'm saying? Like "Victory," for instance, a song that's a hot song with Biggie. I gotta find the right Tupac song that can match that has a nice beat, the flow, lyrics that actually match that song. And that's what it comes down to. If you don't find the right songs to match what they putting out, then you will lose the battle. You know what I'm saying?
Facts. or you gotta have a bigger hit. Make sure you have a bigger hit, because there's times that these dudes, they just put something out, and even Jadakiss was like, yo, when was this song made? Is this a new song or old song? Like, I don't know this song. So if Jadakiss don't know the song, then we don't know the song. It's over for you, bro. Like the fans is gonna boo
there
you.
Go.
Yeah, man.
You're right.
You're really
right.
Drop the ball.
You know, you're right. And then Jadakiss had the Stretch Armstrong freestyle too. He did with Styles P and shit. Come on, that shit was fire. I mean,
super fire.
Yeah, man. If he just put that song out there with "Child Abuse," come on, man, that shit would have been over. It wouldn't even last as long as it did.
Yeah, they holding on to some gems. They still got some gems in that locker that they got, man, full of hits from decades ago, man.
Exactly.
It's so crazy.
Exactly.
But I was excited.
I want to see more versus battle in the future. You know, I was thinking of versus battles they need to have. You know, I would love to see. You know, I was thinking of different verses, but I would love to see Bustin', T.I., the Game versus Royce the 5'9". You know, these are battles.
Okay.
These are good battles.
I like that battle. I like Royce the 5'9" versus
what
Game.
Happens, you know what I'm saying?
That's a good one.
And you know, just put your best hits out to match. You know, match the other artists' best hits. You know, because I think it's great for hip hop. You know, to get these artists out there and get the younger generation
and make it competitive.
And you could get a lot of down south rappers in it too. Like if they, like even the rappers of this generation. You know what I'm saying? If they want to put their stuff out to battle, I don't see a problem with it at all. You know what I'm saying? But don't just make it where it's just the mumble rap or the little shit.
Oh yeah, the clown,
the Migos shit, like
the clown
shit. Don't just put that junk out. Like put actually hip hop from the 90s and 2000 and even now. If they was to do that, then now you got a situation where different areas have their own style of rap, and it makes people more aware of that stuff instead of just what you hear on the radio all day. You know what I'm saying?
Facts. Yeah, we need that competitiveness in the hip hop, because that's what creates these guys. That's what makes these guys good at what they do. It makes them sharp, but also it gives them their flowers, as they say, for when we are trying to say,
there you go.
We have a great rapper. We have this dude. He's giving back to the community. he deserves his shine. Like, let's not give the shine to the dude that wants to like create like a weird culture, like some fucked up shit. So I
There
don't
you
know,
go.
man. Some of these
Yeah, I
dudes,
mean,
they
and this
just
is what,
leading
because these
these.
companies is what do that shit. These
Yeah,
companies are,
that's what's
you
going
know, these
on.
major companies is putting out this shit. They're the ones that's really fucking up the genre. You know what I'm saying? And it's because they're trying to poison the minds of the youth. And this is what they do. They put out this shit because they don't want people thinking. They want to dumb society down. You know, so the rappers who actually have something to say, they have a message, they don't want them out there. Like Tupac was like, he had a message.
Right.
We know Pac was and that's the great thing about Tupac, because he wasn't just he didn't just say real shit to his music, but he was an MC too. Tupac could freestyle. He could come off the top, which most artists can't do that. Pac always came off the top when he rapped, when he rhymed, when he always did a true freestyle. Pac could spit bars if he wanted to. He did that on the Ron G song he did.
Yep.
You know, with he didn't do it with Big L, but they put it on his album. But he did that song. You know, that was the song he did when he went to the studio. That was the night he got shot. He did the Ron G freestyle. Then he went, you know what I'm saying, to the Quad Studio, you know, with Jimmy Henchman set him up, and we all know how that went down. But Pac had so much different types of music, and he had many styles. Like, he wasn't just a good rapper MC, but he was a good artist. And the thing is, because of his revolutionary roots and background, they didn't want him in the music industry because they knew that he always had a message. He had something to say. It came from his heart, but he also said the truth. And they don't want artists out there like that. You know, Nas is another rapper, but Nas wasn't a Black Panther like Tupac. So they didn't feel Nas was as dangerous as what Tupac was. And Nas, you know, he's not selling the records he did, a decade and a half ago.
Facts.
But he don't need to, though, because Nas is eating off a lot of his royalties from all the other hits he put out. So
yeah,
he's still doing it now. You know what I'm saying? Because he can still do it. He still has the ability to do it. And his last album that he just put out was hot. It was fire again. I mean, Nas will never, when he puts something out, it's always gonna be on point, because he spent a lot of time and he spent a lot of hours into his craft. And that's why you see, you know, every time he put an album out, you know, it takes a while before he puts an album out, but it's always consistent. You know, and he always has something to say. You know, Nas, at one time, he would wait like a couple years before he put an album out.
True.
You know, but now, it don't take him that long, because he has so much, like, I mean, shit he done wrote, and songs and compositions, stuff that he put out, man, it's like, it's nothing to him now, because he has decades of experience.
Yeah, and he's nice. You know, he knows that there's people that can't do what he can do. Nobody can duplicate a Nas voice. You know what I'm saying? Like, his voice is super unique, and even the beats. You know, you can't have any kind of beat for Nas. You know what I'm saying? He got to really feel it, and that's what his fans is about. We really like what he brings to the table. Nas has always been a GOAT to me. Some people, I mean, if you from our era, because I'm 34, you know what I mean? But I always listen to that generation. And even now today, I'm listening to like AZ. Like, even AZ is coming back with his stuff. Like, yo, y'all really want that nostalgic sound? I got you. You feel me? Like, and I love it, bro. I love it, man.
AZ's a lyricist too. Yeah, he you know, people talk about how nice Nas is, and we all know that Nas is a legend.
Facts.
But AZ's right on par with him. I hate this. I would tell anybody this. Yeah, AZ really is on Nas's level, because he was around when Nas was rhyming. They was rhyming at the same time.
Yeah, and
AZ's one of the all-time. If you try the top 10 lyricists of all time, I would throw AZ would have to be on my top 10.
Is a GOAT. He's a GOAT in himself, man. I mean, he makes a lot of these even the old rappers, he makes them look bad sometimes. Because if you really listen to his wordplay,
he would smash a lot of them. Even though, like you said, a lot of the guys in the era couldn't fuck with AZ. So you know these dudes now, they fucking with him.
Yeah, and I would like to see him in the verses. I would like to see LL Cool J, because some people don't like to talk about LL. Like, they just forget that he even rapped. Like, bro, he made
LL, of course. You know what I'm saying? I would love to see that. Now, I will say this, and a lot of people respect him, and they think that he's, you know, you have different opinions of of him. Some people think he's the all-time great. Some people think that he's not all-time. Think he's a woulda, coulda, shoulda. I feel he's an all-time great, but I feel that he just wasn't consistent. But I also feel he kind of got blackballed, and I have to say that's Cannabis. I think Cannabis was a talented, still is a talented MC.
Thanks.
Now I know he lost the battle to Disaster, but I don't think that was he didn't prepare for that battle. I think kind of underestimated Disaster when he went into that battle. But listen, Cannabis was one of the illest MCs at one time. He's a great battle MC. He's an underrated. He's not the best songwriter, obviously not, but he has a lot of songs where he showcases his talent. If you listen to Poet Laureate 2, you know what I'm saying, Captain Cold Crush, he had a lot of songs where he's put out is underrated. You know what I'm saying, but he never got the credit he deserved. But I just think that after the battle with LL. I think he kind of did get blackballed after that. So and another thing, Cannabis came at a time when the hip hop was still hip hop, but then it was changing around that time. So I think if Cannabis would have came out in the the late '80s, early '90s, it'd have been a different story. So it was kind of a situation with the time period he came out. I think that's what did it, because he was really a battle MC. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't. I wouldn't put him as like if you had a top 10, artists. Or all-time greats, like I wouldn't put Cannabis in the top 10. But you had if you talking about bars and lyricism, you know what I'm saying, and great MCs, I think he deserves to be mentioned in there because he never got the credit he deserved. But I think Cannabis. I would love to see Cannabis in the versus battle. Honestly, I think he would do better than that than he did. Than he did in the live battle. You know what I'm saying with Disaster, because that right there. When you do a live battle, and we already know Cannabis could have beat that dude because we see what Cassidy did to him. Cassidy fucking tore his ass up.
Yeah, he did. And he did that for the culture.
Huh?
Cassidy did that for the culture. He did that for the culture.
But he was prepared though. Like he went in there. He watched the battle with Cannabis and Disaster. And he was like, "No, I'm not gonna let this dude do this to me.
Exactly.
I'm gonna rip this dude up." And he's seen the battle, so he already had his. He was prepared. When you go to got to be prepared. You can't. I don't care who you are. No, you got to be prepared. You can be talented, and Cannabis is not a great freestyler. He memorizes more. He got a lot of rhymes he memorized. Even Rav Kaz and Rav Kaz said this that he has a lot, and that's hard to do to memorize all your rhymes. And you see it. I mean, but he didn't prepare. And you haven't seen since that battle. They haven't let him back in since that battle. When he choked. But I would love to. I mean. What was you gonna say?
No, I'm just laughing at. I didn't know that they banned him.
I don't know if they banned him or not. I think maybe they might have. I don't know. I mean, because I haven't seen. They haven't brought him back since. So I think maybe they did ban him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I would love to. Like I said, I would love to see him in a versus battle. Now I don't think Cassidy. Honestly, in my opinion, I think Cassidy's better off in the live battles because he is a battle MC. But the versus battle, I don't think Cassidy would do good. In my opinion, because he don't have enough hits. You know what I'm saying? Right.
No, he doesn't have enough hits. He got freestyles that Cassidy, that his fans like, but not the world. The world doesn't really know all his freestyles like that, because he got some good freestyles.
Yeah, exactly.
But those aren't hits.
So there you go. In a versus battle, you can't just be a battle. You got to be a skilled battle MC. You got to be know how to battle, know how to rhyme, but you also got to have hits too. That's what I said. When you talk about hip hop, you can't just know how to rhyme and spit bars, but you got to know how to write a song. Because you got a lot of guys who can spit bars, but they're not good songwriters. Like I think Game is a good rapper, but Game, in my opinion, is not a great songwriter.
He's not.
You listen to Game's raps, huh?
He's an MC. He's not a songwriter.
Exactly. You listen to Game's album. Most of the shit he does, he constantly mentions legends in his rhymes, and then he also tries to copy different people's styles. Like I remember one song I was talking to a friend of mine about this from Texas, and he's a rapper, and he was saying the Game was biting Nas' style. He's like he sounded just like Nas. I said, I know Game does that shit. Yeah. So bite different rapping styles, and that's why a lot of people don't really like about Game. And really, 50 helped him with his first album, the documentary. It's really because that album was hot, really because of 50. I'm not no big 50 Cent fan, but that's the truth.
But I mean, his name is The Game. That's what he literally structured his whole character, like the way he is around hip hop. Like he loves hip hop. He's a student of hip hop. But I'm not gonna sit here and act like he's a songwriter. He ain't no songwriter.
No, he's talented though. He's a talented MC, but he's not a good songwriter. But I heard that he didn't even, this is what I was told, that Pest Control, that he didn't write that shit. Someone said he wrote something with Pest Control. And Game is, we don't know if he had help with all the other shit he put out. So supposedly he has a ghostwriter. Now you got to remember, you could be a talented rapper and MC, because I know he is a talented rapper. But then you got guys who are talented rappers, and they still have ghostwriters. They still they spit other people's shit. So,
hey man, that's nothing wrong with that.
If he did have a ghostwriter for Pest Control, then I can't give him credit for that.
Yeah.
And Biggie Siegel, too, I heard he had.
I heard that one
they
too.
They said to stay home from your property. And Benny Siegel's a good battle MC, and he's a lyricist. So when I heard this, I was shocked.
Yeah.
But my man told me that he had to go state property and them helped him write that diss track with coming at Jadakiss when he rhymed on the "Put Your Hands Up" beat, but him and Kiss was going at it. And I thought Siegel, I'm gonna be honest with you, I like Jada more than Siegel, but I thought Siegel beat him because he went a little longer. I felt Kiss went longer. Kiss would have beat him because Kiss's diss track on the disco beat was more straight to the point.
Facts.
And that was one of Jada's hardest battles. I mean, that was to me, that was one of the most underrated battles I've ever heard. You talking about on Wax?
Oh my
God. That might have been the greatest battle on Wax.
I agree with that. And see, we love New York rappers, man. We love that smoke, man. So yo, I'm saying this because I truly love that battle, because I was waiting on the radio for the responses. I was literally tape recording those responses, and they were ill, man. I loved it.
Jada and Biggie battle?
Yeah, I was waiting on the radio, like listening to the radio, and I would press record and play, because I didn't know when they're gonna play it again. You know what I'm saying? Like the next day they might not play it, and it's 12 o'clock at night. The kind of music that they played in the nighttime, they didn't play it in the daytime.
Yeah.
Or, so I didn't know if they were gonna play it again. So I was like, nah, I'm keeping this, bro.
Yeah, that was to me, that was a better battle than Jay-Z and Nas, being Siegel and Kiss.
And it was more lyrical.
They went at it on. They actually went at they even went at it live. They was kissing them. Did a live show in Philly. I mean, you actually hear that show on YouTube. They did live diss tracks, but he actually came at Siegel's live. But Siegel shit was hotter than his live though. Siegel got him live. He did that live in the Powerhouse 99 thing. It was I think that was in Philly. I'm not sure. I gotta go back and check, but his was better though. But on Wax, I thought honestly, I thought the battle. I'm gonna be honest. I listened to it so many times. I gave it a draw between those two.
It was.
But supposedly he didn't write that song, and that's what I heard. He wrote most of it, but I heard they helped him with it. This is what I was told. But it is what it is. It's still one of the all-time great battles. It doesn't take away from Beanie Siegel's talent or rapping ability, because he's proven that, and now he don't rap no more. I mentioned his name to a lot of these youngsters. They don't even know who he is. They don't know who Beanie Siegel is.
Nah, Beanie Siegel's nasty. I never would have guessed that though, because the way he spit that response, I thought it was all Beanie. And the crazy thing, another thing I want to say, is that it was more believable than the whole Nas and Jay-Z. I felt like Nas and Jay-Z were so untouchable that I never thought that they would actually see each other. You know what I'm saying? But for some reason with Beanie and Jada, I felt like somebody was about to get, messed up in the streets or something, So.
Well, they was prepared for that. Even Styles seen them, said they was prepared for that, because they, them dudes is from the streets, so they said they seen them, that it was on, but they was looking at it as the competitiveness too, because them guys are those guys love, they love the hip hop competitiveness, and those guys are all battle MCs. So when it comes to that shit, them dudes are the first dudes to jump on a mic and they'll go at you, and even so they respect Styles season them, and Kiss they all got a lot of respect for Siegel. You know what I mean? Because they say he's a good battle MC. They respect him. You know what I mean, as an MC, and they said they was happy when he came at him because they brought the best out of them. No, Kiss now, he did tear 50 up. He fucking ripped 50.
Oh, yeah. 50 had no chance, and he knew it. 50 went the commercial route to diss him. He tried to make a hit song by dissing him with like a dance type of track, like a club type sound. And, that didn't work because the streets was listening.
Yeah, it was, It was Piggy. He did Piggy Bank, and then he came back on I Run New York when Jada did the Animal. He jacked the Animal beat from 50 and dissed them on there.
Yeah. They weren't bad responses though.
And then
50's responses weren't terrible. It's just, you know, it wasn't street.
No, he came out with the one with Tony A. I Run New York. That was hot, and the kid said the interview at the end was more hotter than the verse. And when he said, but what 50 said was true though. How Puffy had his publishing because he was fighting. They was fighting with Puffy to get the publishing back, and no one knew about that at that time until 50 put that out. So, but then he came back on another track on the not the it was a Miss Jackson beat, but he tracked one of the other 50's beat. It was him and Styles P. And he told 50 and they couldn't fuck with them, man.
I remember that one.
Kiss and D Block, it was too much for them, man. You know what 50 said was true about them, but lyrically he was no match for Jada. That's why I don't know why he would go at Kiss like that, but it was because of the New York song, and that's what eventually led to the beef with him and Game because Game didn't want to get involved in that. You know, and he went at Fat Joe. Of course, Fat Joe came back. Fat Joe's response was pretty good. Then he went at Nas. You know what I'm saying? And Nas back, you know what I'm saying, at 50. So I was like, this nigga, he's crazy. He went at all of them. Those are premier MCs he going at. You got to have a lot of ammunition to go at all them dudes by yourself. The last person to do some shit like that was Tupac. He went at Big, Mob D, Jay-Z, Nas. I heard him and Nas squash their beef, you know. But,
Mob Deep.
You know, Pac, he had the Against All Odds. That was the track they put on Machiavelli. And what's name was just talking about that Reggie White Jr. about the Machiavelli album. And we can talk about I want to also talk about the Tupac murder because there's a lot of misinformation going out, particularly from DJ Vlad, who's been, you know, putting out misinformation about Tupac's murder for the longest. And I want to clear a lot. I done my research on that Tupac murder, and it's not what the whole Orlando Anderson shit, that did not go down like that. I know for a fact. I can even bring you to the links so you can see for yourself.
Facts.
You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of things have been confirmed. They've been lied about, and they've been trying to keep that shit hidden to the public so people are not aware of what really happened or who really killed Tupac.
Yeah, there's...
No one really had solid confirmation of who killed him, but it's not. Orlando Anderson was the one he wasn't the one that did that shit, man. He was involved. He was involved. A lot of people know that, but he wasn't the one that physically killed Tupac. That whole fucking shit was professionally orchestrated.
No,
people still don't get that.
I agree because it's on paper. You know what I'm saying? The Vegas police. You got Rampart because that we're not saying nothing that's crazy here. Like the whole shit with Rampart is they were corrupt and that was all over. That was national news.
And you know, Reggie White and his father, Reggie White Sr., was part of that scandal. He was the head detective of the LAPD.
Yeah.
So he was and then Reggie White Jr. was the security guard for Death Row. And Suge knew him and all that, but all them other, like Rafael Perez and David Mack, those wasn't Suge's boys. Suge wasn't, he wasn't cool with none of them dudes. They're all, Reggie White brought them into the Death Row.
They just getting paid. They were just getting paid. For how Suge just saw them as employees. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. There you go. But he didn't bring them in, but you know, Vlad keep bringing all these people on his channel talking about how, you know, it's been confirmed that, you know, Orlando Anderson, you know, was a shooter. And he's getting this from the first person he's getting it from is Greg Caden, who was a retired police officer, and they brought him on the case when Russell Poole died, who was originally working the case, and he all his information is more factual than what Greg Caden is talking about. A lot of the shit he's talking about is not even true. Like even with Biggie's murder, he bringing up Poochie, some blood gang member killed Big, and Poochie's dead now. So there's no way of finding out Poochie didn't kill no fucking Biggie, man. You know what I mean? Listen, everybody knows that David Mack, the motherfucking cop that was with, he had did a bank robbery too after that. So, and his boy Rafael Perez, they was part of that shit. They knew, you know, Biggie was going to be out there. They set that whole fucking thing up, man. And one of the accountants, I think his name is Mark Hyland, he was talking about how he did business with them from, I think it was from Arizona to LA. He was sending them the guns and the ammunition and stuff to kill Biggie at that time. He talked about this while he was in jail. They did an interview, you know what I'm saying, on that Biggie documentary, Biggie and Tupac documentary. This is all factual stuff. You know what I'm saying? And Suge, you know, he mentioned Suge, but he didn't know for sure if Suge, you know, had nothing. Suge was probably just lumped it, but Suge had nothing to do with that. That was all. And Reggie White Jr. was behind that shit too.
Nice.
The dude David Mack, the guy that killed Big, was that Muslim dude. What's his name?
Amir Muhammad.
Some Muslim cat. I forgot his name. I don't know off the top of the head. But
Amir. Is it Amir Muhammad?
The one that's been on. He just did a recent interview with Vlad just recently. He seen the sketch of the dude, and it's the first dude that came up to him.
Okay.
Yeah, both. He's the one that killed Biggie. He was in that damn. I think it was a black. They was driving that night, but it was owned by David Mack. David Mack let him use it, and then the German-made brand bullets were the bullets that were rare kind of form of bullets at that time, and those were the same bullets that was found in his. You know what I'm saying? And when they investigated it, what's the name owned that shit too, David Mack. So, but what Greg Kane is doing, he's trying to convince people that and create doubt in people's minds that that's not true by saying, oh, there was plenty of black Impalas, or there was a lot at German-made brand. We found bullets. But the thing is, all this shit this dude's saying, no one can see any evidence of anything he's talking about. He's telling people this shit. You know what I'm saying? So now you don't have to show the public that, but the reality is this: if you ain't showing nobody nothing, then we don't know what you're saying is true. So what he's saying is true is bullshit. None of the shit he's saying is true. I know that. And then he says Orlando Anderson is the one that killed him because of that recorded interview that TPD did, and this was DJ Block keep using. But listen, do people realize they can give you immunity if you snitch or tell or give them some kind of story? They do that shit all the time. Nice. You know what I'm saying? And then some of his stories that TPD says been debunked anyway about how Pac was reaching for a gun and this and that. He made that shit up, man. That shit didn't happen like that. And then Gaddafi said Orlando Anderson was the shooter. Mutar, the bully, confirmed this. Suge Knight said he wasn't the shooter because he was there. He said it himself. He said, well, he wasn't the one that did shot him. So, you know, why they keep putting out this misinformation? They put out the misinformation because they want to put all the blame on him and take the attention off the fucking cops, the LAPD, and the fact that they wanted Tupac dead, and the fact that the FBI had him under surveillance. Because the real truth of the matter is, they always wanted Pac dead. That's why he got always in trouble. That's why he was always getting framed and set up for shit he didn't do.
Facts.
And remember, there was cops in Atlanta that shot at him, off-duty police officers that shot at him. You know what I'm saying? When he was trying to help that black motorist, and they stole a gun, a throwaway gun they found from the evidence locker. That's why they threw that case away. They was trying to get Tupac killed for the longest. Facts. So if Orlando Anderson killed him after they beat him up, they say it had to do with that chain and shit. The chain they snatched, and Pac was the type of dude he stuck up for his homeboy. So even if, you know what I'm saying, he don't know him personally or whatnot, he's a loyal dude. So yeah, he got involved with that. But how did Orlando, and I tell people this too, if Orlando Anderson and QVD found him and they the one that shot him, how did they find him at that stoplight? How did they notice unless someone in Pac told them? Because they wouldn't know that. Pac left after with the MGM after that shit, went changed at a hotel, all of a sudden by some coincidence they find him. And then if you look at the whole recreation of the whole how the murder happened, he was pretty much locked in. He had two cars blocking him so he couldn't get out of the way. That's a professional, you know, setup right there.
Yeah.
So some of them Pac's cab that knew him had to tell him. And Suge, the reason why Suge didn't go to the hospital, he's turned around because he seen it was dudes from his camp that was shooting at him, so he don't know what's going on. So he did a U-turn the opposite direction of the hospital. You know what I'm saying? That's the reason why he was there. He got shot too. He got grazed in the head.
Right. For sure.
You know what I'm saying? So that shit didn't go down like that, you know. And Orlando Anderson died. He died 2 years later at that car wash. They said it was over money, and that half truth of a debt that supposedly some dude owed, and he, that turned into a shootout. But undercover narcotic agent said he said Reggie White was the first. I don't know if it was the father or son, but there's been, you know what I'm saying. There's been people that witnesses, eyewitness testimony that his red champagne Chevy car was seen at the scene where Orlando Anderson got shot. And also he was the first person by Orlando Anderson's body, undercover narcotic that was there when they arrived at the scene and said how he was standing over Orlando Anderson's body. So how did he get there before anybody else? How? You know what I'm saying? Well, he probably told these dudes go tell him where he was going to be at to get the job done, because Orlando Anderson was most likely involved. He knew about Tupac's murder and eventually was going to start talking. You know what I'm saying? And putting that information out, or maybe he did say something about it because no one knew. Orlando Anderson was all he was a fall guy. He was the fall guy to take the rap, just like every other murder, just like Martin Luther King when they set up the dude James Earl Ray and Lee Harvey Oswald with JFK and Malcolm X. It's always some fall guy.
It was definitely strange.
They pay money off, and it's your own people they use to either infiltrate you or be a fall guy.
Yeah,
this is what they fucking do.
It was definitely strange. So it was definitely strange. I mean, you got.
Yeah, and they know what they do. Once someone takes the rap or they set you up, the minute you start talking or you're about to talk or say anything, guess what they do? They take you out. They kill you. And now they can't come to you for answers because you're dead. There's no way to find it out.
That's what happened
There's
to
no
Gaddafi.
Way to find out the truth.
That's what happened to Gaddafi, who's a cousin of Tupac. Gaddafi died 2 months later. You also got this dude, Big Stretch. He didn't make it that much further after, Pac dying.
Yeah, he died a year before Pac died in Queens. Yeah. That was something different, but
I mean, not Gaddafi, Big Stretch, Big Psych, Big Psych.
Gaddafi, he got killed 2 months later, and but he saw who shot Tupac, that night.
Gaddafi, yes.
Who was shooting at him, and he was going, he had information, but he told Mutai, which is Napoleon, he told him that it wasn't Orlando Anderson that did it. He said that. This is what Napoleon said.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And Suge Knight said the same thing. That he wasn't the one that was a shooter.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It completely contradicts the stories that KVD is telling, because KVD was with him when they went out there, but KVD, and he was most likely a part of it. You know what I'm saying? He got paid too, but them motherfuckers is lying, man. They ain't telling the truth. And if KVD, if all that shit went down, ass would have still been in jail. Come on, anybody believe they gonna give this dude immunity to tell what happened with a murder? That I don't know. If you listen to the interview on YouTube, he's talking about the whole murder with Greg Hay, man. Anybody believe that fucking shit? They're stupid. They believe that damn shit because they would have locked his black ass up too.
Yeah,
and
man.
kept it in jail for a celebrity. You kill a major celebrity, a rapper, and your ass is walking. Hey, wait a minute, you helped him. You help, if you know he didn't pull the trigger, if you was with him, nigga, you going to jail too.
Yeah. Nah, it was definitely strange, man. Like, and then on top of that, they used to work with Death Row and all that, them dudes, all them little dirtbag,
Exactly. And then Reggie White told Michael Moore and Frank Alexander because of the lack of what did he say? He said you couldn't have guns in Vegas that night.
That was another strange thing. Frank Alexander is dead too.
This is what he said. He claims he didn't say that now, but Michael Moore's dead. So Michael Moore had said that. So did Frank Alexander. They're both
dead. They're both
Frank
dead.
Alexander committed suicide, but
supposedly.
I don't believe that. I mean, I can't prove it, but it's kind of odd that both of them died. And they both know. But before they died, they all said, Michael Moore said he had a voice over the phone saying, got him, after Pac got killed. Yep. So this is what he said, and Frank Alexander believes that, I think at first he believed he said Suge had nothing to do with it, but then he started changing his opinion. But I think before he died, I personally believe that he started finding out more truth. And even Russell Crowe apologized to Suge because he thought Suge had something to do with it. But he apologized to him before he died too of a heart attack. Right before he was getting ready to give a speech about the new evidence he uncovered, and all of a sudden he died of a fucking heart attack. You know what I mean? Remember Biggie's mom had a lawsuit against the LAPD, and he was a part of that whole investigation, and he was the one doing the investigation, and all of a sudden he died. I mean, the whole shit is, listen, anybody that knows too much, they make sure they get rid of them.
I mean, even
it's always been that way.
Even down to the
if
fact,
you was involved, if you was one of his associates and you knew too much, and you was getting ready to start talking, they'll make sure they're gonna make sure they take you out or try a way to take you out because you know too much.
Yeah, and even down to
they
the
don't
fact
want the truth coming out.
Where Orlando Anderson's wearing a what is it, a Dan Marino jersey, a number 13. That was even bugged out too. That was,
and people said they see him still at the Vegas, at the MGM when the shooting happened. There was witnesses that came forward saying he was still there when the shooting happened. That's what they said.
I mean, he stood out like a sore thumb. It was like so obvious.
So it's a lot of contradicting stories, and when we have that many contradicting stories, then someone's lying. And Reggie White, there's a photo of him at the MGM Grand. They already put this out there. They have a surveillance camera and photo, and Greg Kane tried to say that wasn't him. That was him, man. He was in that. He was out there at that time. His father was. Reggie White was out there.
It's his job.
He was out there, and there was some dude that looked like Greg Kane. He looked just like Greg Kane. He was out there too.
Yeah, it's their jobs to be out there. They're supposed to be out there. You know what I'm saying?
And they're part of the setup and cover up, of course.
Yeah, that's their job. Exactly. That's what they got paid to do. I mean, not exactly for the setup, but they're supposed to be there. You know what I'm saying? So,
he keeps saying, DJ Block, he's saying this is what they confirmed in Orlando Anderson. I'm thinking, well, of course they're going to say that. They're not going to tell you exactly who really did it, who's behind it. Like, they really going to tell on themselves and tell you he did that shit.
It's easy
even if they knew. They ain't going to snitch.
Right. And it's easy to pin it on a dead man. He can't talk.
Yeah, there you go.
He can't say anything. He can't say, no, it wasn't me.
Suge know what happened because they try to kill him more than once.
Well,
they try to take him out.
It's like Gene Deal said. Gene Deal used to say, I don't care if Tupac got to die, and I don't care if Suge Knight got to go to jail. Because it was always about a thing about making Suge Knight go to jail. Because that's where he loses his power.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, because of, because the way he knew it. Suge didn't snitch. He didn't tell. But he just said, when they asked him on that IC documentary with that one chick, Solveig, whatever her name is, I forgot what her name is, but they was talking about that, and he said, you don't need to. He said, you don't need to ask me. He said, the authorities know. He said it himself. The authorities know what happened.
Yeah.
And they know all this information. And what are you asking me for? They already have the answers. Yeah. And he's right. The authorities do know who killed him. They
have all the information.
And it wasn't Orlando Anderson. That's for sure.
It's all in black and white. That's what I'm saying to you. Like, more than half of this is not even conspiracy. It's just because they won't tell the public.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
They won't tell the public, no. And they hide a lot of information because they have a lot of proof. They have a lot of facts. And they just didn't follow up on a lot of this information that they had. There's many people that knew, but they was trying to solve this shit, man. But they wouldn't follow up on it. You know what I'm saying? And damn, Las Vegas police department, they didn't follow up on that shit either.
No, they threw their hands up. They did. It's almost what they did was even worse than what LA did because they just looked away, and it happened on their turf. So that's the crazy part. It happened on their turf. They should be able to figure it out themselves, but they wanted to.
In a busy street like that, come on, man. In Vegas, you live in Vegas,
I live here.
I don't know the Flamingo. I think it's called Flamingo. That's where he got shot.
Yeah, and Koval. Yep.
Yeah. Man, that street is busy. I'm not from Vegas, but I mean, a lot of people that told me this shit. That's a busy street.
It is.
And there's police out there all the time, especially at that time in a big. Come on, Mike Tyson fight. You did a Cadillac shoot a major celebrity star, and the Cadillac gets away, and nobody finds him. Nobody finds the Cadillac or the dude who's in the Cadillac. Get the fuck out of here with that shit.
Right.
And he's a black man too.
Right after the fight. Man? right after the fight when everybody's hype and ready to walk and just
black
hang
man.
out. Yeah,
You know that shit ain't happening in no damn America.
Nah, it wasn't happening. That's not a
They would have
Flamingo.
caught them, man.
Flamingo
Shit like that all the time, and when gangsters do something, they let it be known when they do it.
Right.
You know what I mean? They ain't gonna do it in no fucking Vegas like that unless they're being protected.
Yeah, and
that's what's helping them out.
And they usually have a lot of cameras on those streets too. Like that's not a main street, but it's still a street that's very popping. On a Saturday night.
Yeah, well, they surveillance wasn't the way it is today. They had cell phones, but it wasn't. No, they wasn't using the same cell phones that we had today. So,
no.
But but still, listen, with that much police out there, somebody would have caught them dudes, man. Even when they was investigating it, you know what I'm saying? They would have because they got to do ballistic tests and forensic tests. They had DNA tests at that time. And forensic tests. Me to tell me they couldn't they could solve any other fucking murder, but they can't solve that fucking murder. Come on, man. They think people are fucking stupid.
Facts, man. Well, let's get into the next topic here. I mean, I could go on about Pac. You know me. Me and Kenny, we love Pac. Shout out to your group. Is it the Battlefield Sports? What is it called again?
Battlefield. Battlefield.
Sports and Battlefield. Shout out to your group, man, on Facebook. Shout out to all your followers. I want to segue into the Manny Pacquiao and Errol Spence. The whole drama. I want to know what you think. How do you feel about the eye injury? What was your initial thought when you heard about Errol Spence's eye injury?
I was shocked. I mean, because Errol Spence is someone I respect, and he's a fighter that I know. I always felt that would take any fight and fight anybody. And the whole thing with Terrence Crawford, I know that I think it's kind of partially both of their faults, but I think Spence had more of a point because he is a bigger draw than Crawford is in boxing, and Crawford's not willing to bend and give him the 60-40. That's all he asked him for, and he didn't want to do it. He wants 60-40, and I don't feel Crawford has big enough drawing power. And Crawford hasn't challenged himself in the welterweight division to get that. So I think Spence has more of a point in that situation. So he has fought all the top guys. The only guys he hasn't fought is Thurman and Pacquiao. You know what I mean? And he's talking about how he don't want to fight Thurman because Thurman, Dr. Thurman was injured during that time when he was supposed to make the fight with him. And he would have fought him had he beat Pacquiao. He's even talking about this. He wasn't ducking no Errol Spence. Spence is just, he was just being stubborn because he wanted that fight with Thurman at that time and he couldn't get it. And so he felt since he's calling the shot, he can make him wait too. That's what I think he was doing. But the Pacquiao fight, I gave him a lot of props for taking that fight. And of course, you got to give Manny 2 props for fighting him at the age he is, because no one thought Pacquiao was going. But Pacquiao's a warrior, man. He signed that contract right away. He's the first one. He gave him a call about it. And Spence talked about how he heard he got a call from Pacquiao's team, and he said, yeah, he would accept Pacquiao. He just wanted to get the okay from Pacquiao. Pacquiao said, no problem. But as you know, Pacquiao signed a contract to fight Terrence Crawford, and Terrence Crawford, I don't think he backed out, but it's Bob Arum that messed that fight up. And Pacquiao was signed the contract. He's the first one to sign the contract, but Terrence Crawford never signed that contract, so the fight, it fell apart. And according to Bob Arum, he says it's because the investors in Abu Dhabi didn't want to put the money up for the fight or whatnot.
Oh,
this
yeah.
is what he's saying.
I remember
there was
that.
no money. You know what I'm saying? And if that's even the whole truth I just think that, Crawford, in my opinion, because his contract is up with Top Rank in October. He just confirmed this recently. So that's true. I think if he wants to fight Pacquiao or any top guy, then he needs to leave Bob Arum, or he's never going to get a big fight. But with Errol Spence, with the eye injury, I was surprised because, a week and a half before a big fight, and you cancel, and you say you have a torn retina, or detached retina, and the first thing people want to know is, well, when did this occur? Because he looked fine all that time in sparring and training.
That's a great question.
None of this shit until the last minute.
That's a great question.
It's just bad timing, and that's why people are suspicious of the whole thing, and including myself, because it just doesn't make any sense. And then he's talking about coming back in 1 month, to train. He's going to try to. And if you have an injury like that, you can't come back in no month. You're going to need more time to heal. for that, you're gonna need at least several months to heal. Sometimes that shit could take 6 months to a year, depending on how bad it is. I know Sugar Ray was out for a couple years, like 3 years before he came back because he had from a detached retina. That's a serious thing. You don't play around with that. So, I don't know if he lied about it. No one could prove it. But if he did, I do believe it has something to do with this. Because in my personal opinion, it's because of the way Pacquiao looked. They all thought Pacquiao was going to look old and washed up. Since he's 42 and he's been out of the ring for 2 years. And man, he looks like a young fighter. He looks very good in training. He looks like a beast. And I think it surprised all of them. And I think they're worried, that Manny could beat him and upset the apple cart. Because if Pacquiao beat him, he would make history again, becoming the oldest undisputed welterweight champion. That's never been done before. And he would take Spence's 0 away from him. He had his first loss, and he would mess up the fight with him and Crawford. So everybody wants to see Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence, a lot of the die-hard boxing fans. So he would destroy that fight. And then remember, he's going to be retiring soon. So I personally believe that, and like I said, I can't prove none of this, but I feel that they wait longer. They feel having Manny Pacquiao wait longer, their chances are better because he's going to get older. And this is what I think it was because of the way it was done, and he hasn't shown any proof, medical proof, any x-rays or nothing to show that really happened. He's saying the doctor, he said he's seen 3 different doctors. This is what he said. And he claims the doctor told him your eye's bad, but if you have a detached retina, you would know something's not normal. You would know yourself. You shouldn't have to ask a doctor. I think one doctor you talk about a small tear, and then eventually it could turn into a large tear, so he would know. He's defending Spence, saying it's absurd for anyone to think that he canceled the fight, and he says some states won't allow you to fight. You know what I'm saying, with an injury like that. So it was out of his control. This is what he's saying, but I would tell him, well, how do you know this? Was you there to see everything that was going on? Because he's giving his opinion, but if you weren't there, you don't know what went on behind the scenes.
Right, and that's what I've been trying to figure out. I've been trying to figure out, how did he get the injury? Was it in sparring? When did it happen? Tell us, because you can't just tell us like how you did. You just told us that he got an injury and the fight's over, but we don't even know what happened exactly. And then number 2,
exactly.
This is the thing that makes it fishy for me. The guy that Yordanis Ugas was supposed to fight on the undercard, because he was the co-main event before all this happened. The guy that he was supposed to fight, that guy has an eye injury too. Did you know?
That's why I have my doubts about the whole situation.
That's the part right there.
I don't believe in coincidences, and the thing is, things like that happen, the way it happened, it doesn't happen by luck or by chance. Usually things like that are planned when it happens, just the way it happened.
Part.
That's why I have my doubts about the whole situation. And, like I said, you don't accuse no one until you know for sure. But, as the months and days and months and stuff go on and time go on, little by little, more truth will come out and we'll know for sure what really happened. We'll have an idea, because right now no one really has an idea of what really happened. And Pacquiao just got to go in there and beat this guy's ass and show everybody, in the world, who he is. And we already know he can beat him. He just got to go out there and execute it like he always done. And if he beats his ass and don't leave it in the hands of the judges, even if he don't knock him out, but beat him convincingly, and even in the late rounds, he got to take it from him, because that's what the Jeff Horn fight. We all know he whipped Jeff Horn's ass in that fight, but. Right. And even the last 3 rounds, they claim, after that round 9, he didn't knock Jeff Horn out, but he didn't need to knock Jeff Horn out. He still outboxed Jeff Horn the last 3. Jeff Horn didn't do shit those last 3 rounds. He was using reckless aggression. He was still holding, using dirty tactics, and he was missing most of the punches he threw. Pacquiao outboxed him the last 3 rounds. If you watch the fight, he didn't have to knock him out.
It was
and
the
that's
blood.
How you know they robbed him. He fucked Jeff Horn up in that fight. So, Yordanis Ugas, he just got to make sure he stay on top of him from the first round to the last, and make sure his stamina is going to be great. So I don't think he's we're going to have to worry about that in the last. But when he gets him hurt, just he has to stay on top of him and try to take him out. Don't leave that shit in the hand of the judges, because you never know what these judges
exactly.
Because they'll find any way. In my opinion, they're going to try to find any way to try to get rid of Pacquiao, get him out of boxes. They've been trying to get rid of him the last several years. The last 6 years, they've been trying to get rid of him. You know what I'm saying? And no one's been able to do that because he hasn't deteriorated the way they all thought he was. So, and this is why he's still on top. This is why he's still one of the best fighters out there. You know what I mean? Even though they don't want to acknowledge that because it's straight disrespectful not to. Because Pacquiao is not only a living legend, but he's still beating the best fighters in the world on top of their game, elite fighters. Broner was on top of his game. Thurman was on top of his game. Both of them in their prime, he beats them decisively, both. And they still, for some reason, don't want to give him credit. And he was getting ready to fight Errol Spence, something that Floyd didn't want to do. Floyd wouldn't even fight Errol Spence. Floyd, we all know, me and you both know Floyd was scared of that fight. You know what I mean? After Spence got ass and sparring, and Spence started winning and showing what he was made of. He wanted Spence to fight Thurman because he didn't want to fight Thurman. So he was using Spence as a shield. So he wouldn't, because Thurman was his mandatory. He ducked him too. Floyd ducked Thurman too. So Pacquiao beat Thurman and then get ready to fight Errol Spence. Two guys that he didn't, Floyd Mayweather didn't want to fight. And they sabotaged this fight. And not only that, sabotaged his legacy of him trying to make history. So, and like I said, if Spence really did get hurt, then if it's legit, hey, I would say, well, then you got to heal up until you're prepared to come back. The fight just wasn't meant to happen. That's what I would say. But, if it's not true, if he did lie about this shit, then that's fucked up. I'm going to say they did that purposely to sabotage this man's legacy because they don't want to have to say he's the greatest of all time because that's what they all have to say. Pacquiao beat Spence, that he is the greatest of all time. They don't want that. They don't want to do that shit. America don't want to do that shit because he's a foreigner. He's from the Philippines. They don't want to say, oh, he's as good as Sugar Ray Robinson. You think they want to say that? No. And then he would crush Mayweather's legacy if he was to win that fight. Hey, his legacy is better than Floyd's now, in my opinion.
A lot of people will say that.
He challenged himself more.
A lot of people will say that.
Yeah, he challenged himself more than Floyd. Floyd ducked so many fights and didn't change. A lot of fights he didn't take, he avoided. And that's another thing that bothers me about DJ Blas' punk ass. That Floyd Mayweather bullshit propaganda, constantly. Michael Jai White's my man. I don't got nothing negative to say about him, but he's on Floyd Mayweather's jock. Talking about Floyd, the most talented fighter ever, most best fighter ever. He was just talking about that shit about fighters who not made history, who brought fighters and put customers and fans in the seats.
Yeah,
and he tried to say I changed the game, which is true. Boxing is what Ali made people love boxing because of Ali, not just what he did inside the ring, but his, because he was, his activism outside of the ring, with not going in and listening into the Vietnam War during that time and standing up for who he is. The real dude, man. So people love Ali, but Ali fought all the best fighters. He didn't duck the one. And then he brought up Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson, shoot, Mike Tyson put asses in the seats. Everyone liked Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson made you want to watch boxing. And then he started bringing up other guys like Sugar Ray Leonard, and then he brings up Floyd fucking Mayweather. Oh, Floyd's like a hero. The people everyone want to fight. The DJ Vlog will say everybody want to fight like Floyd. I said, no, the fuck they don't.
That's so
Floyd
crazy.
Mayweather. I said, where the fuck is this Floyd Mayweather propaganda coming from? Because Floyd Mayweather, I remember when he was Pretty Boy Floyd, he wasn't no big draw at that time. He was a good fighter, but he was not the top fighter or best fighter in the world at that time in the late 90s. That was Roy Jones Jr. and Oscar De La Hoya at that time. Those were the two best fighters at that time. Mike Tyson was still the biggest draw, and then you had Lennox Lewis. Lennox Lewis was never a big draw like those guys.
Nah.
But then you also had Felix Trinidad. You had Bernard Hopkins. You had James Toney. But these are the guys would talk about more, but Floyd Mayweather shit at that time. He didn't start people didn't start Floyd until he beat Oscar De La Hoya. That was a close fight. Oscar was fast as fire when he fought him. He almost beat Mayweather.
He even admitted it on HBO that he liked the energy that Prince Nassim and guys like Oscar De La Hoya was getting, because they was getting the big checks. Prince Nassim and those guys, and even Arturo Gotti was getting the big checks. Arturo
Gotti was a big draw. That's why Floyd fought him. Arturo Gotti was never a skilled fighter.
No.
He was never an elite fighter. He was just a big draw because of his blood and guts fighting style.
The
And
Italian.
that's why people love to watch him. And that's why Floyd fought him, because he knew that he would help him put him in the mainstream. But that one fight when he beat a tall guy, it still wasn't enough. He had to get the Oscar De La Hoya fight.
Exactly.
And once he fought Oscar De La Hoya, that's what made him a superstar. But Floyd, even when he beat De La Hoya, Floyd still didn't have that ability to capture the public's imagination. He just knew how to talk a good game.
Right.
That helped him sell a fight. But he was ducked. You know how many good fighters Floyd ducked? When Floyd did that, he never took challenges. And that was my problem with Floyd. He never wanted to risk losing because he was so afraid he was going to lose. Pacquiao, on the other hand, when he beat Oscar De La Hoya, he did what he was supposed to do to a fighter who's past his prime. That's how he beat Oscar up and retired him. But Pacquiao was not only an action-packed fighter and a skilled fighter, but Pacquiao never ducked a fight. He fought all the best fighters in his era, constantly doing that. What fighter you know from this era fought a guy 4 times? You got to go back to the 50s and 60s to see that shit. Sugar Ray Robinson fought what? Love Jake LaMotta, what, 5, 6 times? That's the only time you see him fight.
Yeah.
Guys fight that many people that many times. Pacquiao's a throwback. He was doing what guys back then in the 40s, 50s, and 60s used to do. What Manny Pacquiao doing in this era, in the moderate era.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? He's a big draw.
Yeah, and in a fearless way. I mean, some people they mischaracterize Manny because they see him smiling and maybe his English isn't like everybody else's, or that he's fighting up against and stuff like that. But when he's in the ring, he's all business, man. So
of course, and he's not afraid to lose because he knows that can happen to any fighter. But if you look at throughout history, every great fighter has had losses. They've had losses and they came back.
Facts.
Ray Leonard had losses. Ali's had losses. Ray Robinson, he had over 80-something fights before he lost his first fight.
Yep.
But he still lost, but he fought everyone. He fought everyone he was supposed to fight. You know what I'm saying? Mike Tyson, regardless of what people say about him losing to Douglas, Mike Tyson fought everyone too. He never ducked no one.
Yeah.
Tyson never avoid no fighters. Tyson lost to Douglas because he underestimated him. But if he was in shape, we all know he would have knocked Douglas out. He took him out too. But he just underestimated him. Evander Holyfield, he beat Tyson, but, he got Tyson at the right time. Mike was not the same fighter he was in the 80s and stuff. And, it's a fight. I think Mike would have beat him, but I think Holyfield would have always gave him trouble because of the styles. But Mike didn't avoid no Holyfield either. It just wasn't meant to happen at that time. But Mike ain't never avoided nobody. He fought everyone he's supposed to fight. Holyfield never avoided no one.
No.
He fought everyone he was supposed to fight. Oscar De La Hoya never avoided anyone.
Nope.
He never ducked no one. You know what I'm saying? Bernard Hopkins never ducked no one.
George Foreman.
Fought everyone he was fight.
George Foreman
never ducked no one.
He never ducked nobody.
He never ducked. He fought everyone he was supposed to fight. James Toney ain't never ducked no one.
They never ducked
Robert
nobody.
Hackley never ducked no one. So we could keep going on and on with every great fighter. Roberto Duran never ducked no one.
Right.
But Floyd Mayweather is the master at scouting and cherry picking and ducking.
Oh
he ducked so many fights that he made sure that when he fought people, either they was old and washed up, they was inexperienced like Canelo was, or he had every advantage and stacked the deck against you to make sure he won like he did with Pacquiao.
Yeah.
Pacquiao, the only one he did it with damn near everybody when he's within his later stage of his career.
So let me.
Can we really say he's the greatest fighter ever if you didn't test yourself against the best fighters when you had the opportunity to do that? Because we don't know. You might have won a lot, but then you would have lost some too. But we'll never know because he never wanted to take the risk. He would never take the fight.
Yeah. So let me set the table a little bit for you. All right. 10-day camp. That's basically what Ugas and Pacquiao has. Ugas is an orthodox fighter. He's not a left-handed fighter like Errol Spence. Also, there's rumors of what and whatnot because we all know that with VADA testing, you have to volunteer. You cannot just be on the list like they have them on the website and just think that they're getting tested. They're not getting tested unless they volunteer. All right, so there's some discrepancies with that. So just to let you guys know, Pacquiao has been volunteering his blood samples and all that. So I just want to include those things, and I also want to ask you, what do you think? How is that fight going to go down with all those things at the table right now, you know, with the 10-day camp and all that?
I think Manny's 71 fights in his career, in the amount of experience he has, and seeing every style. It ain't just his skill, but him being able to see because he doesn't see every style there is. He has the experience where he can adjust to that, and because you got to realize, Ugas, people saying Pacquiao only has 10 days to make the adjustment, but so does Ugas. Ugas has to adjust to his style too.
Oh yeah, that's
true. You can't find anyone like Manny Pacquiao because there's no one that fights like him. There's plenty of fighters you can find and fight like Ugas. You know what I mean? So, and in situations like that, then it comes down to intangibles. Speed, footwork, power, precision, timing, and experience. Now you have to look at all those intangibles. Now those things matter now because neither guy has the amount of time to prepare for each other's style. You know what I'm saying? Because even if they did, those things still would mean something. You know what I'm saying? So if you don't, it means something even more. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you got to still give Pacquiao the edge in this fight.
Absolutely.
The VADA testing, Pacquiao's always been a clean athlete. He's been doing VADA testing for years, since the Brandon Rios fight. And, Floyd never did VADA testing, though. Floyd always did USADA. And that's because, he didn't want to get caught of what he was doing. We don't accuse people, but Floyd's got, he has failed several tests in the past and got a waiver. Even did an illegal RV after the weigh-in, with the Pacquiao fight. But you took bringing stuff up to Mayweather fans, they don't want to talk about this. Even, the defamation lawsuit Pacquiao had against him when he took him to court. And Floyd, they subpoenaed his drug test results, and he didn't want to show proof that, that any of that stuff was true. He settled with Pacquiao right away. Yeah. So there's a big red flag on Floyd's career. But
all
Pacquiao,
on paper.
There's no red flag. You won't find any evidence that he failed any test. As a matter of fact, Jose Sulaiman said he took over 100 blood tests already, Pacquiao. With VADA, which is the strictest drug testing agency in boxing.
And you have to volunteer for it. So let's not get that twisted. He's volunteering. He's saying, I want you to see my blood samples. This is the best fighter in the world.
Floyd's never done that. What Floyd does is he tests going in when the fight gets announced. So if he has done some stuff, anything he's done when he wasn't being tested has been cycled in his system. And, he's not doing true Olympic style blood testing like he claimed, because this is what he's putting out. And at the same time, when you take a USADA, they could actually, you could get a waiver or a therapeutic use exemption.
Oh,
if
yeah,
you fail.
That's right.
And they allow a higher limit. And this is what he was doing. This is why he got over. He gamed the system.
I remember
but
that.
If you ask Floyd to take VADA, Floyd would never do no VADA. That's why he's never seen it. It's why you've never seen it happen yet. He's playing VADA. He's paying USADA $300,000 for their services, but VADA was cheaper. But wouldn't want to use it. So that should tell you right there something's wrong. And Marquez did the same thing. That's why everybody knows he was on juice. Everybody knows Marquez was juiced up.
Yeah.
He was doing the same thing. He didn't want to take the VADA test. The truth came out when he fought Bradley. Bradley was like, why did you want, it's kind of strange that this dude don't want to do VADA, but he only wants to do USADA. Now, that's when Bradley tried to pull out the fight, and they forced his hand. He didn't want to fight him because he's like, I'm not saying this guy's on anything, but why don't you want to do VADA testing? It's because his guy, Memo Heredia, who was the guru of blood doping, because he was giving the Olympic athletes steroids, and he knew how to beat the test. He knew if he'd have took that VADA test that Marquez would have got caught.
For sure.
That's why he didn't do VADA test.
And Bradley smoked Marquez that fight too. That was his best fight
ever.
Him
too. Even on the juice, even when he was on the juice, and because people think Marquez was on the juice when he fought Bradley. I said no. He was on the juice.
He was.
He didn't do the VADA testing. Bradley did though. He did USADA. That's why he still had Member Heredia. It's just Bradley exposed him, and Bradley showed that he was an elite fighter. And he doesn't get enough credit for that victory. And that's why Manny Pacquiao fought him again. If he doesn't win that Marquez fight, Pacquiao wouldn't have fought him again, because he beat him the first time when they cheated him.
Yep.
That's the reason why he fought Marquez again. My bad. That's why he only fought Bradley again. Yeah. Because Bradley proved himself that fight.
It's like out of respect, they both taking the VADA testing. They're like, we're both in our prime. Let's fight each other because we have respect for each other, and we don't care about what Marquez is doing anymore, because we obviously know that he's a dirty fighter. So,
of course. And that's why he didn't want to fight Manny a fifth time, because he knew he was going to get knocked out in that fifth fight.
Oh, yeah.
Because he was going to get knocked out in the fourth fight before he caught him at the end of the round 6. He caught him in.
Yeah, he had a broken nose.
Just got too overconfident and careless. And, knockouts happen in boxing, man. Then you got to remember, we fight someone that many times, 4 times, you're bound to lose once. Even if you beat him 2, 3 times. Pacquiao should have had 3 wins technically, because the first fight, one of the judges scored it a 10-7 round, which should have been a 10-6, because he knocked him down 3 times in the first fight. So Pacquiao technically beat Marquez 3 times, but so as it stands, it's two wins of Pacquiao, 1 draw, and then of course Marquez had the 1 win in the 4th fight. So when you fight a guy that many times, somebody's about to get knocked out. Eventually you're going to beat him. If you keep fighting, even Sugar Ray Robinson lost 1 to Jake LaMotta. He beat Jake LaMotta every other time, but LaMotta finally won 1 fight against him. But is Jake LaMotta better than Ray Robinson? No.
No. Not in any way.
Not at all. Yeah. And Marquez ain't better than no Pacquiao either. Even though he won that 1 fight, he ain't better than no Pacquiao.
Nah, I mean, they were good fights though. I do want to ask you though, what's your final prediction? Do you predict the KO? What do you? Because I see like a technical knockout type of deal happening with Ugas. Just this final prediction.
Same thing, a TKO in the late rounds. I don't want to predict and say when, because I don't know. But
right,
I definitely know Pacquiao's going to beat him. And if he does take his best hits and he makes it the full 12 rounds, I'll tip my hat off to Ugas, even if he loses. I'll still tip my hat off to him. But I don't see no way. No, anything's possible in boxing, but I wouldn't. I don't see him beating no Pacquiao. I don't see no way he's going to beat him. I just don't think he's a good fighter, don't get me wrong, but I just don't think he's just good enough to deal with someone like that. I mean, he's not on that elite level, even though he's one of the top guys
he's
in
a tough fighter,
underrated too. So, but I don't see him beating him, and I kind of believe that that Pacquiao can stop him. But, it's a fight really that Manny wanted to. He didn't even have to take this fight after Spence pulled out. He could have postponed the whole thing. So I don't want to fight, but. All the hard training he did, all the work he put in, he wasn't gonna. He said, "Well, I got to fight somebody else." That's why he decided to fight Ugas, because Ugas wanted the title that they stripped from him and gave to Ugas, which Ugas didn't really earn. But Ugas did. He's a champion, but he didn't. The title, Pacquiao title, Pacquiao shouldn't have to be fighting for the title that they took from him, because he really didn't get beat for it. Ain't no one really beat him for it. No one beat him for the title they won from Thurman. So it's really a waste of time, but it just goes to show you the character that Manny Pacquiao has and the fighter he is. And this is why he deserves more credit than all these other fighters. And if anything, these fighters should be looking up to him, because he's showing what these younger generation dudes should be doing. Taking fights, challenging yourself, and fighting the best. Don't avoid fights. Don't take examples like Floyd, because Floyd ruined the sport. Teaching these guys, and look what she's doing with Gervonta Davis' career. Gervonta Davis, that you got to fight the guy who sells the most tickets, or you got to fight the guy, because this guy don't sell no tickets. It's a waste of time. It's like, for instance, not Lomachenko, but Teofimo Lopez. I heard Leonard Ellaby saying that he don't sell no tickets. So why would we waste our time fighting? But who gives a fuck? Teofimo is the best lightweight.
That's crazy.
In the division. He beat Lomachenko for the title. So why wouldn't you fight him?
That's crazy. Yeah, it don't make any sense, man. Some of these guys, it doesn't make any sense. Like, for example, Keith Thurman. He didn't fight since Pacquiao. Well, what are you doing? Errol Spence just pulled out. How come your name is not in the hat, bro? Like, why are you not trying to fight him again? But this is the way that they're taught to do business and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, Thurman's best chance is to try to get, if Sean Porter Crawford, if he can't get the fight, then I think Thurman should go after. If he doesn't move up in weight, he should try to get a fight with Crawford, or try to get a fight with a rematch with Porter. That would be my. That's what I would do if I was him.
But
the Pacquiao fight, he fought Pacquiao already. Pacquiao beat him. Thurman failed, so he has the opportunity against Pacquiao. So, but he needs to go after one of those guys since they're his generation.
It's crazy.
Try to get a fight with one of those.
It's so
guys,
crazy, man.
Because Thurman's still young. He can fight one of those guys. He's in the gym actively training right now too.
You know what'll probably happen? The Floyd blueprint is Thurman is probably gonna fight Ugas if Ugas loses to Pacquiao. That's the Floyd blueprint. Go fight
If
the leftover Pacquiao's leftovers, and then try to put your. Don't do that. Just straight up go and call these dudes out like you used to, because that's what Thurman used to do, and now he's not really like that. I don't understand.
I agree. Yeah, he needs to go after all these guys. You're right. I mean, Crawford, he needs to go after, Bob Arum is making it hard for Crawford to get some of these fights. But they have to be aggressive with this and make the effort of calling these guys out.
Yeah, and there is some news. I saw an article about Khan, something about Pacquiao calling out Khan or something like that. And then Virgil Ortiz. What do you think about Virgil Ortiz? There was a fight last week that appeared and Virgil won by KO.
I didn't watch the whole. I saw the highlights and I seen when he knocked Virgil Ortiz down, but when I see Ortiz coming back and beating his ass, but I didn't get to finish watching all the highlights. But I know he had beat him. Kavaliaskis, he beat him. That's the guy that Crawford fought. And he looked pretty good. I think Virgil Ortiz he needs a little more experience. So I think he needs to fight at least one more fight against I would love to see him fight. You know what I'm saying? I would love to see him fight maybe a Danny Garcia.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? See where he's at, or maybe a Kell Brook. Kell Brook is not the same. I don't think he's going to come back. But if he does actively try to fight again, it would be a good fight to see where Virgil Ortiz is. Because Kavaliaskis is he's decent, but he's not. I wouldn't put him in the upper echelons of the guys we're talking about now.
Nah.
Just to see where he's at. Or maybe he get the winner of the. If Ugas loses, he could get Ugas, or maybe Virgil Ortiz could fight Thurman. Because Thurman is not.
There we go.
He said he hasn't got a fight.
See, there
that's
you
a
go.
Fight right there. We can see Virgil. That's a good fight, and I personally would like to see Virgil Ortiz against one more guy before he steps in the ring with a Thurman. But if not, hey, I'm okay with him fighting Thurman.
There's plenty of fights out there.
You don't want to rush
Ortiz.
the guy either. You want to make sure you put him in.
I agree with that. I agree with that. There's definitely enough fighters out there for Virgil Ortiz to make himself a little more popular for Thurman. So let's get to the smoke. Let's get to the smoke. You say you had some smoke with some guy named Tommy or something like that. Was this smoke on Facebook? Where did this happen? How is he calling you out? I don't know. Who would call you out?
Oh yeah, it was Don Juan. If you go to his videos. Into the arena, you'll find it. It says, you can even go on YouTube and put Kenny Lopez exposes Tommy Carruthers. But and I want to make this clear because Viking Samurai talked about he had Tommy Carruthers on his channel, recently. So if you do, when you post the video, you can make that clear. And if you want, you could bring that up. How I address Tommy Carruthers,
for sure.
Interview with
for sure.
If you want,
I will. I will.
People, they'll know where to look. They'll know. Okay. Well, damn. Who's he talking about? He's talking about. Because Viking Samurai, he's popular on YouTube with the martial arts, particularly martial arts actors and fighters and stuff like that. And he interviews different people about people like Stegall and Michael John White. He tries to find out information and how fact-based or how factual a lot of these guys are, and if they're really good at what they do. But Tommy Carruthers, it was a beef that started on Facebook because he see one of my training videos and he tried to tell me that what I was doing wasn't really Jeet Kune Do, and he was attacking me. And then he said my Sifa wasn't doing Jeet Kune Do, not realizing that he told me I got it wrong, not realizing that he got it wrong. Because what Tommy Carruthers is a demonstration guy, and you'll see it in my video with Don Juan when he posted it, that Jeet Kune Do, Bruce Lee was the originator. He created Jeet Kune Do, but he didn't believe in any styles or system because he felt that restricted you as a fighter. So that he created Jeet Kune Do because he wanted to modify the Wing Chun, which was mostly a close quarter-based system, with principles. And he all he did was modify, but he never got rid of the Wing Chun like the myth that people say. They say he got rid of the Wing Chun, and that's a lie. Because if he got rid of the Wing Chun, then you wouldn't see him in the later stages of his life, like even in movies and fight scenes, using Wing Chun techniques, like the blocks and the deflections and the trapping. All that stuff was still there. Matter of fact, Bruce trained with a Red Bull Wing Chun guy, from 1959 to 1964. And Jesse Glover confirmed this too. So his Wing Chun was there. That was his bread and butter. He never got rid of that. And as you know, Bruce Lee had a lot of kung fu experience because he would trade knowledge with different kung fu practitioners when he was in Hong Kong to learn different styles, different forms of fighting. So he never restricted himself to one method or one way. He wasn't a closed-minded individual like that.
Yeah.
Or he never would have been the fighter he was. But Tommy Carruthers just basically tried to tell me that the blocks, basically blocks don't work in real fighting, and it's not realistic. You know what I'm saying? And he's basing this off just Jeet Kune Do principles. That Jeet Kune Do principles, like the intercepting fist and the stop hit, is more realistic because if you try to do the move or do the blocks in real life, it won't work. And one of his students did a demonstration, and he did a 1-2, and Tommy tried to have his student do a ton style, in a box out, and then he told his student to come at him real hard.
Yeah.
His student backed up, and he almost collapsed. It collapsed. He was off balance. And the reason why it didn't work was because the student was too square up. That's one, and two, he didn't do the block right. If you don't do those things correctly, then it's not going to work. That's why that happened. And not only that, he's not training them to do that stuff. So he's not training them for those techniques. If you're not training a student to do those techniques, then it won't work. But when I did the technique with one of my students, it worked. And I had him come at my face. If you watch the video of Don Juan, he came out, he was throwing punches at my face hard. I didn't have no problem stopping it. But he couldn't stop it though. So either it doesn't work or it does. No, it's not that it doesn't work. It's you, the individual. You have to make it work because you're the man. The man behind the style is more important than the style itself. Even Bruce Lee would even say that. He said that too. The live, breathing human being is more important than any style or established system. So the principles and all that stuff is important. Don't get me wrong, but you got to know how to apply it too. And that's what he's not doing. And then, like I say, he's a demonstration guy. So he'll tell his student or he'll tell a guy in demonstration to throw a punch here, to throw the punch at him, but that's not reality. That's not realistic because that's not how it works in real life. You got to actually, a real person attacking you is not going to tell you what he's going to do. He's going to just come at you however he wants, and that's his job. You got to just be able to stop it. But it's not going to be pre-rehearsed. That's not how it goes. And he's teaching his students to make his attacks and things pre-rehearsed and by using Jeet Kune Do principles. And all those principles, like I said, and I'll say it again, they all work. If you watch his demonstration, you see he's doing the technique right. Like the flick jab, he's shooting it right. He's quick too. But that's not really reality because you're still telling him he's giving you his hand. And real life, that's not how it works. If you watch my video Don Juan put out, I mean the sparring video I did, and he's attacking me. He's not telling me what he's going to do. And I'm using Jeet Kune Do principles and techniques and still stopping what he's doing. That's because I'm using realistic training. I'm showing you what will really happen. So if you're going to train it, if you're going to show it, train it the right way. And if you do it that way, unrehearsed, then you can educate and enlighten people that, okay, this is what's really going to happen. But if you're just doing it in a rehearsed way, then it's not realistic. So that's basically where the beef started, is that he's going around telling people that I don't know what I'm doing, and I'm not the only person he attacked. He also attacked this other guy named Sifu George Hanasa. I believe he's I don't know if he's training in Massachusetts or LA, but he's a Jeet Kune Do guy too. But he also does realistic Jeet Kune Do, and he's a real Jeet Kune Do guy. So Tommy tried to bash him, and it's really Tommy Carruthers who don't have it right. He's well known in the Jeet Kune Do community. A lot of people know him. And, he actually was on the documentary, How Bruce Lee Changed the World. He was showing Jeet Kune Do the concepts like simplicity and directness and all that stuff is when you learn Jeet Kune Do, that's important. You need to know that.
Yeah.
That's very important in real fight because everything you want to make sure you keep the stuff simple, and you want to make sure you're as direct as so you're not wasting time. You know, you don't want to simplicity means you're not complicating the situation. So all that's important, you know. But the problem is, like I said before, you can use all those concepts and you can know all those concepts, but it all starts in the gym and how you train too. Because if you train things in a pre-rehearsed way, then you're not training for reality. Because reality is it's never going to go in a rehearsed way. So if you do that, you will fail when you have to really fight.
What's the purpose?
And that's the truth. That's the real truth.
So
if you don't spar and you don't do unrehearsed attacks when you're training it, you'll get your ass whooped eventually because you're not doing it the right way.
So what?
Now, he telling me I don't got it right, but he don't got it right.
What's the purpose of someone like his practice? You know, because you know, let's say if I'm like some kind, and I'm not trying to hate on his business or anything. That's we're not doing that. But I'm saying, like, what is the purpose of someone that has a practice like his?
Okay, you asked me what is the purpose of why he does it, or what he's trying to do.
Yeah,
is that what you're asking me?
Is it more or less for like demonstration, just so it could look good, so you could present it in like a acting style of way? I don't know.
Yeah, you just said it. It's demonstration purposes, and he's a demonstration guy. That's all it is. He's not a fighter, and that's the difference between a fighter and a demonstration guy.
Yeah, that's dangerous.
He looks good at demonstration, but that's not. You're not training to be a fighter. Bruce Lee was a fighter. He wasn't just no demonstration guy. You watch the demonstration he did at the tournament. He's actually going out there. He's sparring. It's unrehearsed. You know, even when he asked the guy to block his punch, Vic Moore, it's unrehearsed. He has to try to block it. You know, that's when he did the speed demo. He also did the 1-inch punch, and as you know, the 6-inch punch, and then he did the chi styles with Taki Kimura. He did the blindfolded chi styles, and that requires a lot of skill. You see a lot of Wing Chun practitioners do that. You knew Master Philip Redmond. He out there. He does Wing Chun. He's with the William Chung clan. I think he was in one of his videos. He was doing a video with him. Wow. Am I correct? Am I right about that?
I'm not really savvy on that information, but I will tell you that I'm a believer that Bruce Lee was damn near superhuman when he was in his prime. So I'm not.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
That man was unbelievable. I mean,
But
Tommy Carruthers, though, yeah, he's a demonstration guy, and he doesn't want to. He wants people to believe that he's a fighter, but he really isn't no fighter. And people will tell you now, people will also tell you a fighter is someone who goes in the ring and competes, and but someone who doesn't compete and then a fighter, and that's also a myth because Bruce Lee didn't compete. Michael John White, he doesn't compete. Steven Seagal obviously doesn't compete. Those guys also are fighters and they know how to fight. Being a fighter is not because the reality is when you're in the streets, you have to train for all different possibilities. So to be a fighter, it's the way you train. If you're training to be a fighter, you will be a fighter. If you're training that way, that means you have to do, like I said, realistic. You have to do sparring. You have to do realistic hand-to-hand combat training. When someone's attacking, you have to constantly keep training that way. And your mind has to always be outside the box, and you got to always keep evolving. That's how you become a good fighter. You know what I mean? But competition in tournaments, you can do that, but that's not. But remember, that's a controlled environment. So there's a referee, there's judges to help you. If you hit someone, if a person gets hit illegally in a place where in the streets you can do that, but in the ring you can't. So you got to look at this. If it was a real fight, then that you even though he may be a better fighter, or he could be a better fighter than you, if you catch him in the groin or the Adam's apple or the eye, or you hit him with a joint manipulation technique, or hit him in a pressure point, then the fight will be over. You know what I mean? But in the ring, you can't do that. It's illegal. You see what I mean? So that's not real fighting either. That's why Bruce Lee didn't believe in tournaments, although there's nothing wrong with that. But the reality is this: it's still a controlled environment. So when you take all the rules out, now anything goes. So now you got to be ready for any situation. You see what I mean?
Yeah. Nah, I love Bruce Lee. Shout out to Segreto. He's in the chat. He said, "You guys do know that Bruce Lee boxed for a bit, right?" And I have seen footage and like a picture of Bruce Lee in like UFC style gloves or something like that. I don't know if he created those gloves or they were like boxing gloves or something, but like
Yeah, the
modified.
cutout gloves. Yeah, he was one of the first ones to actually use those gloves at that time.
Yeah, he like
because nobody was
modified.
doing it at that time, so he was way ahead of his time. Danny DeSanto actually talks about this too in the interview. So yeah, he used it in the fight scene in Enter the Dragon. He was sparring with it, but he also did it in the Enter the Dragon fight scene where he used the cutout gloves like the UFC guys do today.
Yeah.
But yeah, Bruce Lee did win a boxing tournament. That is true. In Hong Kong, he won a boxing tournament.
Yeah.
So he was big into boxing. Bruce Lee loved boxing. He watched a lot of fight film on Ali. He loved Muhammad Ali, the way he moved. He watched the old school fighters too, like Joe Louis and Jack Johnson. He watched all those guys, Dempsey. But I really studied a lot. That was one of his favorites because of the footwork. Ali had impeccable footwork and non-telegraphic, attacks with his jab, especially his jab. Ali had a good jab. So Bruce really studied him a lot, Wing Chun was his bread and butter, but that was like he loved Wing Chun because he was great at it. But boxing, something he also was good at too.
Yeah.
Bruce wanted to. He could have competed. He would have won. Bruce Lee would have won a lot of tournaments. If he did kickboxing and he did the point sparring, he would have dominated all those tournaments. But to him, his philosophy on fighting was different, and he was a fighter. Bruce Lee was a let's do it right now type fighter. So, he was the guy that would show you. He wasn't impressed with just doing demonstrations, and I mean he did demonstrations, but he's the type of guy that would have you tell you, okay, well, attack me with anything you can, and I'll show you how I stop it. You know what I'm saying, and what I would do, and it'd be unrehearsed. That's how Bruce Lee, because Bruce Lee was a fighter, and it didn't matter who it was.
So
he worked hard.
Is there something being set up with you and Tommy at all, or is he just trying to be like a troll on you right now without him really acknowledging?
Yeah, he was just trying to be a troll on me, and he ain't mention me. He's not gonna mention me because he's not gonna try to give me that notoriety or publicity. He don't want me to have publicity. So when I called him out, he stayed quiet. He had students or people he knew sent them to my page, and but they knew what I did. I mean, they can say what they want, but they know. Can none of them prove me wrong? They know what I did.
Yeah, because there's a difference.
But they're going to stick up for him. They're going to defend him. I get that.
Yeah, but there's a clear difference.
He don't bother me no more. But I'm only just bringing this up because I don't like how Viking Samurai had him on an interview, making it seem like he's the authoritative and sole man of Jeet Kune Do, and he's not. He really isn't. There's a lot of Jeet Kune Do guys better than him. And my Sifu's way better than him. I just mentioned Sifu George Sanasa. He's better than him.
Shout out.
And it's the truth. Tommy's just more well known than them, but he's not the best guy out there. And this is what they want you to believe.
So it's all smoke and mirrors.
Being that I traded it, I can see this through the smoke and mirrors while other people won't. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, other people ain't gonna see through the smoke and mirrors. They're gonna think that he's the best Jeet Kune Do guy. At one time, and the crazy part about it, I used to be a fan of Tommy Carruthers. What I didn't know any better, I was a fan of him too at one time back then. But I didn't know any better at that time. I wasn't doing Jeet Kune Do training at that time. But once I really learned the system, then I started seeing the truth. And I started seeing for what it really was. So now I can see through all the smoke and mirrors. I know when someone's telling a lie and they bullshitting.
Folks, you're gonna have to go to Enter the Arena to see Kenny Lopez's footage of him sparring and what else was going on? Was it like a demonstration or basically someone trying to attack you so you could show people how to block and defend yourself?
Yeah, I did that he claimed didn't work, and in the video it was I don't remember which video it was. It was on his page and saying that it was a 1-2 punch. He said it didn't work, and I did the same demonstration, and it worked. The same punch he claimed his student wouldn't do. I did the same thing.
Wow.
The only difference was his student had boxing gloves on, and my student came at me with bare hands, bare knuckles, and it would make a difference though. Even with boxing gloves, you would still stop it. It doesn't matter if it's boxing gloves or without boxing gloves.
Yeah,
you'll still stop the damn punch. That doesn't mean anything. So his student just didn't know what the hell he was doing. He was square up on him when he did it. And that proves right there that technique means a lot. When people say technique, or they claim that, it's not, the technique don't mean nothing. They don't know what the hell they talk about. Technique means everything. You, like I said, you have to know you behind the style. You're behind the style you're using. You have to be able to know how to use it. The style can't do it for you. You have to be able to make this style work. Plain and simple.
Facts.
You have guys out there who know a style. But then you have guys out there that know the style and it works, and because they know what the hell they're doing. You know what I'm saying? That's where a good teacher comes into play. It's important to have a good teacher so you know what you're doing when you really have to use it.
So, last thing before we go, I want to ask you: are you following the Canelo fight at all? Like, because there's talks of him and Caleb Plant might be fighting in November or something like that. Are you following that fight?
Or Khalid Plant?
Yeah. Are you following any of that stuff right now?
Honestly, I've been, not really, but I know about I heard the fight fell apart because of drug testing, and supposedly Canelo didn't want to do drug testing at the time. But I think they're renegotiating things again.
Right.
But I would love to see the fight. Yeah, I would like to see the fight. I don't think. I'm not a big Canelo fan, but if I had to put my money on that fight, I would pick Canelo. I mean, I think the only fighters, in my opinion, would be Canelo. I thought Triple G beat him. And they didn't give him the fight. But
me too.
I also thought the fight with Laurie was closer, and the Cotto fight was closer. Canelo's been getting a lot of he's been getting a lot of help with the judges in fights, and but I think the only fighters that could possibly beat him, besides Triple G, who I thought beat him, is really Andre. Well, Andre Ward's the only one I think that really could beat him, because they know other good fighters out there that really challenge him right now.
Well, they tried to get Bivol to fight him, but they wanted him to come in at 172, and that's kind of asinine to ask a guy that's a light heavyweight to come in at 172. So, I think.
Oh yeah, that don't make no sense. It don't. I don't see the whole point of that when he fought Kovalev at light heavyweight. So why would they do that?
Yeah, but see, this is what they do. This is what Canelo does: is that he tries to make people shrink and do all this weird stuff just so he could fight them. But
yeah,
those days are over. The internet knows what's going on. You can't just keep doing that.
Yeah.
Just because Floyd did it to you doesn't mean that everybody else is going to be willing to do that, because Bivol has a
exactly
like he did when he fought Floyd. So if it's gonna be a real fight,
that's it. That's his stupid ass fault for agreeing to it.
Yeah.
Floyd. The only reason why Floyd got away with that shit is because a lot of the fighters allowed that. Even Pacquiao, his team, Pacquiao too, they allow him to get away with too much shit. But Pacquiao's hand, he pretty much he had everything against him going to that fight. The only thing he could have did was postpone, like what Errol Spence did when he had the shoulder injury. But according to Freddie Rhodes, they couldn't. Pacquiao still fought that fight with that shoulder injury. He could have postponed it. He tried to. But Freddie Rhodes said they couldn't do it when he tried to postpone it. And that's why it's strange that Errol Spence was allowed to postpone that fight with only a week and a half left. That's a very crazy situation, to be in. And that's why I said I mean, I really don't know. And no one knows for sure if that eye injury was legit, But we shall find out in the next couple months. We'll know.
So with the information that we have,
if he's out for 6 months to a year,
you think they'll fight again? Because they're saying that that Manny might run for president in 22, and then there's some talk of even Filipinos not being big fans of Manny on the political side. So I would like to see what you know about that. That should be like the last topic. Because I know it's late over there on your side. So I just want to see what you think about Errol Spence fighting Pacquiao again, if they can make that fight.
I would love to see it. I mean, it's fucked up. It's going to take a lot long. We have to wait longer now,
Yeah.
And Pacquiao is getting older, so he has to recharge his battery again, and at the age he is, and it could work against him. But then again, we got to see how he looks against Ugas, and if he looks great and dominates Ugas, then I don't think that he's gonna. I don't see him eroding, anytime soon. I think Pacquiao's gonna look. He'll look good for a long time. And because the reason why is he takes care of his body all year round. He's always training. He's always in shape.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't see that being a problem. But we gotta also look at how long it takes before we get to fight. If Errol Spence fights again, is it within 6 months? Is it a year? Is it for 2 years?
Oof.
It all depends on how long it takes. Because he can't wait that long because Pacquiao ain't gonna be around that much longer. So if he's gonna fight him, then he's better. He's gonna have to fight him by next year, like January, February, son. It can't be no 2 years or a year and a half. He can't wait that long. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because supposedly the primaries for Manny to run for president is in April, so there is plenty of time to make a fight for January. But Manny's got to look good, and number two, Errol Spence got to be telling the truth, because at the end of the day, this could all be a waste. He got into that car accident. We don't really have time for all this. Oh, I'm injured. Oh, I'm not injured. Oh, I'll make the fight. No, I can't fight. It's come on, man.
That car had nothing to do with this current situation with the whole torn retina. That car accident was almost a year and a half ago. So people bring that up. That didn't have nothing to do with it. And because we would have seen the effects in the Danny Garcia fight, and people say that
That's
he
right.
still might have effects. Garcia, he looked good in that fight. I didn't see anything wrong with him. He looked the same as he always looked. And Garcia caught him some hard punches, and Garcia's a hard puncher.
Right.
So it wasn't a car accident. It's something that they're claiming that happened, and then they claiming they don't know when it happened. So we really don't know. We really don't know. That's why I said I'm skeptical about and suspicious about the whole thing. But I don't have a lot to go on to really put my finger on it and know if this dude's lying or not about the fight.
Yeah, because they're not
but
saying.
I do feel his promoters worried that he could lose. I do feel that way, and I think that they, when they see Manny, they all thought Manny was gonna look old, and he don't. That's the only reason why I think this fight got happened, in my opinion. Because they all thought he looked old.
Well,
remember, he's been out of the ring for 2 years, and 2 years is supposed to age a fighter, but it didn't do it with him, and that's because he always stays in shape. Each way, he keeps his body in shape. It's all lifestyle.
Facts. There is something that Bernard Hopkins brought up about there being a lack of, maybe there be a lack of business, or maybe people not buying enough tickets. But from what I've heard, because I have an insider that knows about what's going on with the seating arrangements at the T-Mobile Arena and what's been going on with Raider Stadium as well. They just have people using masks, so it's sold out, and it's gonna be a packed house. So there is no problem with business right now when it comes to that fight for Manny. He's a very popular fighter. So I still don't understand. It has to be something where they're trying to protect the brand, so to say, because it can't be business. It's not business.
Yeah, and see, everything you say makes sense. I mean, we know Pacquiao's going to sell out because Canelo did it during the pandemic. He still had, he attracted 70,000 fans, so we know Manny's not going to have a problem with that. So I know that it won't be an issue with selling tickets. It's just, and like you said, they try to protect that brand because remember, Errol Spence is young. He's young in his prime, and he's part of the new generation. And Pacquiao just beat one of them, which was Keith Thurman. They don't want him beating another one of these guys like Spence, who's unified champion, because then that means he would have took out two of the best fighters in PBC if he beat Spence. And he messes up a fight between Spence and Crawford. So, yeah, of course they try to protect that brand, and he's not from this generation. That's another black guy for this generation in boxing, and they don't want that. Even though Manny's a legend, they would have to not only say he's the greatest of all time if he was to beat him, but he's not. They can't use Pacquiao because Pacquiao's going to retire soon. He ain't going to be in boxing that much longer.
No.
That's why.
Exactly. And another thing is we're in the midst of a pandemic. There's people still stuck on their phone looking at information and whatnot. And once they see this, they're going to be like, hey, Floyd, what are you doing? This guy's still knocking people out. What are you doing over there? You know what I'm saying? So it's going to be.
Floyd ain't never going to fight him again, man. It's been 6 years since their fight in May in 2015, and he hasn't gave him a rematch. He won't even go to the table to negotiate with them because you know why? He knows that rematch ain't gonna look the same as the first fight. He knows it.
No.
He knows that because he knows that fight. He was lucky to win that fight. He was lucky, even with all the advantages he had going into that fight. He was lucky to win that fight. So a lot of people are not convinced he beat Pacquiao decisively the way those judges had the fight. I told people the fight, in worst case scenario, I thought the fight should have been scored a draw. Because I think Floyd didn't do shit the first half. Pacquiao won the second half. Pacquiao didn't let his hands go, but that was because of, the rotator cuff, which got worse. And remember, he wasn't allowed a tornado shot going into that fight. So I definitely do. I think they have unfinished business. Everybody does. Floyd should have gave him a rematch. But Floyd didn't want to do it. And that's because he didn't want to lose. Like always. The same thing we always see with him in his hand-picking and cherry-picking fights. Anybody else, Floyd if that was anybody else, Floyd would have fought them again. If it was somebody else he knew he could beat, he would have fought them again.
For sure.
But, someone like Manny, he know Manny's dangerous, and he know Manny could beat him. If Manny brings his A game, Floyd knows he'll lose that fight. That's why he never fought him again.
Yeah.
He's talking about how he'll beat him 100 times. Well, of course he's going to say that. That's ego talking. He got to make it seem like he's that much better than him. But that's not true. You look at their accomplishments and achievements, and we already know who has a better legacy out of Pacquiao and Floyd. Of course, it's Pacquiao.
And it would have been a bigger icing on the cake.
This propaganda about Floyd is DJ Vlad and Michael Jai White. Which I think Michael Jai White's a great martial artist and all, and
yeah,
he's a good fighter. He's good at what he does, but the Floyd Mayweather shit, I'll never agree with him on that. I mean, how could you possibly rank Floyd Mayweather over Sugar Ray Leonard? I mean, that's just nuts, especially at welterweight. Ray Leonard would have knocked Floyd out. I'm like, what is he watching? What the fuck is he watching?
I mean, knocked out his
you
father.
Think Floyd's better than him? You got to be crazy to say some shit like that. Ray Leonard is the fastest welterweight of all time.
Yeah, and
in the history of boxing.
And he knocked out his father too, from what I understand.
I know. Oh yeah, he whooped Floyd Senior's ass, and Floyd was the one that taught Floyd Jr. You see what he did. You see everybody seen what he did to him, and Floyd Senior was not only bigger than Floyd with a longer reach. He threw more punches. His punch output was higher.
Yep.
So what the fuck do you think he gonna do to Floyd Jr.? You already know the answer. You already know what he would have did to him.
He would have smoked
that
him.
Fucking shoulder roll shit he does, and that shit would have worked against him.
Yeah. He would have made him into a one-arm fighter.
You ain't never seen a fighter like that in his era.
I mean, there was only one guy. I mean, it actually would have been more competitive if he would have fought Roger instead, because Roger was actually a harder hitter. You know what I mean? Now he wasn't so defensive.
Very true.
He would have gave better of a chance to Sugar Ray, but still
Floyd would have beat none of those guys in that era.
Exactly.
He was telling Nori on Drink Champs how, because Nori had brought that up. How you and Tommy Hearns, and how would you do it? Floyd Jr. Money Mayweather goes, there's a game plan how to beat him.
No.
There's no game plan how to beat me. Of course, nigga, because you ain't fight nobody. That's the reason why. You never fight nobody when they was on top of their game. Tommy fucking ring with Ray Leonard and Marvin Hagler. Floyd ain't never fight no one like that.
Nah.
So what he lost to them? After when he said that shit, this nigga's out of his mind. Floyd Jr. ain't never fight no one as good as them. He would have lost too. He'd have fought them.
It's all on the resume, my friends. It's all on the resume. We've seen it. Floyd retired right after he fought Oscar De La Hoya. He waited a year and a day to come back, so like that he could avoid the contract. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, he retired to avoid all the best guys in the division, which was Miguel Cotto, Margarito, Paul Williams. I remember I followed boxing at that time.
Me too.
And Miguel Cotto gave him a tough fight. Miguel Cotto already got washed up by Pacquiao. And remember, I thought he would have beat Margarito, but Margarito, we know, loaded in that first fight with his gloves.
Yes, sir.
He would have I thought him and Floyd, they should have fought in 2008 when they were supposed to. He retired. He didn't want to fight him.
Yep.
And Paul Williams, he ducked him like the plague. He knew he wouldn't have beat no Paul Williams with that shit. Paul Williams threw too many punches. And you see what Paul Williams did to Winky Wright.
They need
there's no way Floyd would have beat him. That was a bad style matchup for Floyd. He knew it.
They need to make
Floyd also ducked him too, Winky Wright.
They need to make a documentary.
Winky Wright, I had a guy on Facebook tell me, Winky Wright wasn't a big draw like that in boxing. He wasn't, Floyd wasn't going to fight him. He was a nobody. I'm a nobody. I said Winky Wright was an undisputed junior middleweight champion. I said, but he fought. De La Hoya was a big draw, but he fought him. But why did he fight? He didn't fight Winky because he knew Winky would have beat him. That's why. Winky was dangerous.
Yeah, and he would have beat him at his own.
Floyd knew there was a good chance he would lose because Winky had a jab. Winky had a great defense. He had just beat Trinidad, and Floyd didn't want no part of him, man. Floyd tried to do a catchweight clause with him, and you couldn't, which means you can't work. And then he issued also a rehydration clause. You can't weigh over a certain weight limit the night of the fight. Wiki agreed to everything he wanted, and he still didn't want to take the fight. But another thing is he was trying to make the fight where he got what? I think it was 55, something. He wanted everything in his favor. The same thing. And Floyd wasn't like no big. He wasn't no real big draw at that time. Like you can't sit there and dominate the negotiation. But see, that's the problem with him, this dude, man. He's done this in all these fights. He's priced himself out in fights and done this so he wouldn't take. So he would have to fight a guy, and then he claims the other guy didn't want to fight him. He's done this his whole career. Yeah. I mean, against everybody, every guy he wanted to fight. A big fight came on a horizon. He did with Pacquiao for 5 years. You know, saying he had to do the drug test at A to Z. He had to do the drug test, and then he had to do it the 2 weeks before the fight. Then he changed it to a week before the fight. Then the day of the fight. Yep. You know what I mean? I'm like, man, he don't want to fight him. It took him 5 years before he finally fought Pacquiao.
And after
he made sure he had everything in his favor to win the fucking fight.
Yeah, and then after De La Hoya, he fought the smaller guys. He went down. He started fighting guys that were 135.
Marquez. Yeah, he had him work 2 weight divisions, and
Ricky Hatton
even agreed to catch weight, which was a contractual weight stipulation. He didn't make the contractual weight that he agreed on. He actually came in overweight and bigger than he was supposed to, and he got fined $600,000. I mean, come on, his first fight.
He didn't care.
That's why it's hard to root for Floyd, because if you got to have the advantage over everyone you fight, I think he would have still beat Marquez. I think stylistically it was a bad matchup, so I think he still would have won. But I mean, why are you gonna? I mean, you don't do that to a guy like that coming up 2 weight divisions. Let's be fair. You know what I mean? And Canelo too. He was doing the same thing to Canelo. He tried to dehydrate him.
Dehydrated him.
Before Canelo had went before.
He fought Ricky Hatton, who was a champion at 140, who never fought at a true welterweight weight, and really was not a real welterweight. He was more or less like a 140 guy. He's Pacquiao's height, but without the power. You know what I'm saying? He don't got.
Who are you talking about now? Ricky Hatton or Marquez?
Ricky Hatton. He fought Ricky Hatton.
Oh yeah. It's
Ricky
funny
Hatton
you brought that up. You did your research, because a lot of people don't know that shit.
No, they don't know.
He was never a welterweight.
They don't know that. He's basically Pacquiao without the power.
Yeah,
that's where he was at 140.
Ricky Hatton almost lost to Luis Colazo, and he's seen that too. That's why he did that. He made sure he fought him. He had him come up to his weight to fight him, and Floyd should have just went down to 140 and fought him and beat him. And he would have got the same credit. He would have actually been. Floyd would have did that. He would have been lineal champion at 140. That would have been another lineal championship he would have won. For Pacquiao fought him at 140 at his best weight and won the lineal championship.
That's right.
So that's all Floyd had to do. Floyd also ducked Costa-Zoo. He didn't want to fight him. He ducked him. I think Floyd could have beat him, but he knew Costa-Zoo had a nice right hand. He seen what he did to Zab Judah. He knew Costa-Zoo could have hurt him in that fight if he caught him, but he wouldn't take the fight. So we'll never know how great Floyd really could have been, even though I consider Floyd a Hall of Famer. He's a Hall of Famer. I'm not taking that away from him, but the best of all time, the most for the shit that Reggie White said, he's out his damn mind.
There's
no fighter is more skilled than Floyd Mayweather, and I'm like, okay, if you're saying this because he's undefeated, he's not the only guy to retire fucking undefeated. Andre Ward retired undefeated. He don't have as many fights as him, but he fought everyone he was supposed to fight.
Right.
He retired undefeated. Joe Calzaghe retired undefeated, even though I don't think Joe Calzaghe beat Hopkins in that fight. He fought Hopkins when he's past his prime. He fought Roy Jones when he's past his prime. So Calzaghe's resume is not that good, but he was a talented fighter. But still, he retired undefeated. Rocky Marciano, retired undefeated. Ricardo Lopez retired undefeated. Floyd's not the only undefeated fighter. Julio Cesar Chavez had over 80 fights before he lost his first fight. He was undefeated for over 80 fights.
Yep.
So was Sugar Ray Robinson. Sugar Ray Robinson, I think had 102 fights, before he lost his first fight. So Floyd's not the only fighter to retire undefeated.
And you're correct.
And then they counted the McGregor. That Conor McGregor fight shouldn't count on his record.
And you're correct
He's not
about.
a boxer. Conor McGregor's not. boxer.
You're correct. You're correct about Ricardo Lopez. Ricardo Lopez also undefeated as an amateur and never touched the canvas.
Yeah, no, he only had one draw. That was it.
That's it.
No,
a draw.
But they count Floyd 50-0, and they gave him 50-0 because of the Conor McGregor fight. Conor McGregor, they did that because Conor McGregor applied for his boxing license, so they made it an official fight. They counted it on his record. But who has Conor McGregor beat in a boxing match for them to count that fight? He ain't beat nobody.
Nobody.
Now, De La Hoya getting ready to come back and fight Vitor Belfort, and Vitor Belfort is a good boxer, but he's not a world-class champion boxer.
Right. Did we lose you? We lost Kenny.
The Magic Jack customer.
Oh, it sounds like his battery might have died or something like that. We were having a great conversation. We were going really deep on Floyd Mayweather's resume. Let's see. I'll wait another 5 or 10 minutes before I'll close the stream and whatnot. But I got a strong feeling he's going to be calling back. Let me see. So I had Do Not Disturb on the on my phone while he was calling me. I mean, while we were talking, so I wasn't allowing anybody else to call in. But I'm gonna leave it open so like that he could call me back. If not, we could end the stream here. You know, it is getting a little late over there in the East Coast, but if he does call, we can continue the conversation. The topics we were covering were they were across the board. We were talking about hip hop versus, you know, obviously we were talking about DJ Vlad and some of the buffoonery that he's been putting on in his channel and whatnot. We were talking about some of the smoke that he has with Tommy. I don't remember the guy's name, but we do need to subscribe to Enter the Arena to check out Kenny Lopez's sparring matches and thank you. Shout out to Sigrento. We will continue to have more conversations here with Kenny. I think we got Kenny right here on the line. Hold on a second. Hey, did we lose you?
Yeah, my phone is starting to die out, so that's why I hung up.
Okay.
Yeah, but I forgot the last thing we was talking about. Oh yeah, we talking about McGregor. But
right.
What I wanted to say was that De La Hoya, you know, the De La Hoya fight with Vitor Belfort coming up in September. The reason why they count that an official fight because he's been retired for 13 years. So, you know, and remember he got stopped against Pacquiao in his last fight. De La Hoya's retired. He's a retired fighter and he's old now. He's 48. So that's a different situation,
right?
Than Floyd's situation. You know, I could see that, but Floyd, he was only out of the ring for what, a year and a half before he fought McGregor, and he won his fight against Berto. I mean, he wasn't old and washed up like Oscar was, like Oscar is now. It's a different situation. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And from
so
what
you don't want Oscar in the ring with a top guy or a lead guy. You don't want to. He needs a fight that actually can show where he's at. If he does, because he said he wants to come back and fight for real. So, you know, that's actually a good fight to see where he's at, you know?
Yeah, I would like to see.
Got something left at all.
I would like to see that because, the thing is, he fought a kickboxer, a guy that didn't even know what boxing is like. You know, he's a champion in kickboxing, so we give him credit for that. But at the same time, the guy didn't even think that they were going to be fighting that hard. And then Floyd went in there and knocked him out in the first round. That, you know, that this kind of like what he did with the guy Victor Ortiz. You know how Victor Ortiz was apologizing. It was the same kind of gesture. You know what I'm saying? And then, you know, he fights Jake Paul, whoever this guy is. You know, it's like you can do something else.
Yeah, those are exhibitions. Yeah, Jake Paul and that little the little Japanese kickboxer. That was a waste of time. I mean,
Yeah.
Everybody knew what was going to happen. It was actually Paul Logan, not Jake Paul.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Paul Logan, his brother.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
Yeah,
I didn't get the names right because I don't remember these guys
Paul,
like that.
Paul Logan's not a fighter. He's a big draw. He's a big YouTube sensation, and Floyd shouldn't even have wasted his time fighting someone like that, man. Wasted time.
Yeah, man. This is what fighting has come to. But at the end of the day, we're still supporting the real. There's still plenty of fighters out there that keep it real. Sometimes these guys, do a little funny dances. I don't know why, like Tyson Fury. I don't know what's going on with Tyson Fury over there in the UK. We need you back, fam. We need you back with the real ones. We want to associate you with that club. You know what I mean? So don't stop the games out there in the UK and drinking that UK water.
Yeah, Pacquiao's kept boxing alive though. He has, and that's why I said when he retires, he's gonna be really missed because
facts.
He's not just a great fighter, but he's a throwback, and we don't have enough of those fighters in this generation. Throwback fighters who are actually willing to fight the best and challenge themselves against the best all the time, constantly on a consistent basis. I think the only ones I've seen. They have that ability that has the ability to do that and will do that. I feel is Keith Thurman. He's one of them, and I see Teofimo Lopez and Lomachenko. They're other two guys that will challenge themselves and fight the best. They're willing to challenge themselves. So, but other than that, none of these other guys I've seen. Terrence Crawford. He's a great fighter. He's a skilled fighter, but I haven't seen he hasn't challenged himself yet at welterweight.
Yeah.
Errol Spence, the book's still open on him. He would have did it. Had he took this fight against Pacquiao. I mean, that would have been the fight that we'd have knew. It'll let the world know who he was. But it's this situation this is a big setback for Errol Spence's career, man. There's always going to be question marks now, and people already say how he ducked, man. So it's going to be always question marks about him now. So. It is what it is. Like I said, I hope he does come back, and I think that there's more pressure on him now to come back and do something.
Yeah.
But until he does fight Pacquiao again, if he never fights Pacquiao, there's always going to be a question mark over his career now because of this.
Yeah, and I think he knows that. He doesn't matter how he answers those questions. I think he knows that he has to fight Pacquiao, and hopefully it does happen. We're not saying it's not going to happen, but you're not giving us a reason to when we don't know exactly what happened and why is it that there's so many questions when it comes to Ugas's opponent. His eye got messed up around the same time as yours. Like that's too fishy for me. There's not enough information. It's not concrete enough. So and we're all heartbroken, Sagrito. Everybody's heartbroken because that was supposed to be a good fight, and I actually thought that Errol Spence was a dog. I thought he was a real dog out there to prove himself. And I actually thought there was possibility that he could beat Pacquiao, but not how I thought how Pacquiao could beat him. I just thought it was possible. That's why we watched the fight.
Yeah, definitely was possible. I think, in my opinion, I think Pacquiao was prepared for this fight, and I think Manny, I feel that Manny would have found a way to win. I think he could have beat him.
Yeah.
But, like I said, if he'll prove me wrong, then I will definitely tip my hat up to him. But we never going to know now because of what happened. We never going to know. We never going to have the answer to that now. So.
Oh.
Floyd, I feel he would have fought Floyd now. I mean, because he sparred with Floyd and he got the best of him in sparring. And Spence would have definitely fought him, but then Floyd's not as dangerous as Pacquiao. He doesn't have Pacquiao's punching power, tenacity, footwork, and he's not the offensive fighter Pacquiao is. And we talk about intangibles again, and I think that Spence wouldn't. I really don't think that he does well against against people with Pacquiao style than he will against Floyd. Floyd is a defensive fighter, so
right.
He would do better against someone like Floyd style. Because remember, everything has to do with styles too. When you're great, fighters do pay attention to that stuff. They know what styles are going to trouble them than others. And I think Pacquiao's style would have troubled them a lot. And I think this is the reason why the fight, he kind of pulled out of that fight.
Yeah.
You know, they all knew he knew he was going to get hit a lot. He knew even if he was 100%, like they claiming he's not, but even if he was, no matter what percent he was at, Pacquiao was going to hit him a lot in that fight. There was no way he was going to stop that because Manny was still quicker with better footwork and way more experience. So we already know that would have happened. It would have just all came down, like you said. He would have to show the world how much dog he had in him and his ability to weather the storm and his pressure, his timing, things like that. He would have had to show all those intangibles, you know, in a fight like that. You know, we would have knew, you know, well, what would have knew? Well, would have seen it. Well, how great he really is. He would have showed that. You know, Thurman lost to Pacquiao, but it doesn't matter. Thurman still stepped in the ring with him.
Yeah.
He still fought him.
12 rounds. We went 12 rounds with him.
Yeah, he did good in the fight. I thought Pacquiao beat him decisively, but you know, Thurman looked good. He fought his ass off.
Yeah.
You know, he showed a lot of things that we didn't know he had. Good stamina. Thurman had good stamina. He trained his ass off for the fight, which he showed. He prepared really well. And Thurman showed he had other dimensions. He's a good counterpuncher, but Thurman could also box too. You know, he showed he's not a one-dimensional fighter. You know, but you know, he went in there. He fought he did the best he could against, you know, all-time great, one of the best fighters of the 40 years in Pacquiao. So Thurman might have lost, but Thurman still gets points for fighting the way he fought.
Oh yeah, he gets credit from all boxing fans all around the world.
Yeah,
for sure.
You know, but Spence, on the other hand, we're never gonna know. We're never gonna know about Spence. And if he never fights Manny, even if he fights Terrence Crawford, even if he fights Thurman, you know, there's still gonna be that question mark about Manny. They're always gonna question that.
A detached retina, though. Detached retina. This is we're talking about a detached retina, man. It's so. I mean, we could depict this all day, man, because it's just strange how it just comes up. But you know, until we have more information, it's true, man. We don't know, and I want to give Errol Spence time. You know, I want to see what happens. So.
Yeah, well, that's always going to be, you know, the detached retina is going to be, and like you said, you got to give him time.
Yeah.
You know, to prove his case, and you know, because more information will eventually come out. But you know, as of right now, it's always going to be looked at as an excuse until we have solid confirmation about things.
This reminds me of when they said that Canelo ate some foreign taco meat, and then all of a sudden the fight is over. That was the rematch. Everybody was clamoring for that fight to see part 2 of Triple G versus Canelo, and it got pushed back. See, some people don't remember that too. So this is what that reminds me of, even though that they haven't fought.
This is what happens in a lot of these fights, man. You know, these you know, sometimes these fights get pushed back. But like you said, if both guys are in their prime, in their 20s, it's different. But when you talk about an aging fighter, that does have an effect. That's going to have some kind of effect on the guy who's aging, you know, and it's taken away from his prime year. I mean, his prime year, he might not be in his prime no more, but it's taken away from that one fight, that one night, because every great fighter, even if he's older, always has another great night in him.
Yep.
And this one could have been Pacquiao's, but we're never going to know now because we have to wait even longer. And that might have an effect on them. And I hope not, but it can now.
Yeah, and they're using anything that they could. They're doing whatever they can to turn the events, to see what happens, to see how they can.
They want to see how good their chance and want to make sure they have a higher percentage chance of winning.
Yeah. Well, let's do this again after the fight. Let's try to set up something else. And we can talk some more hip hop as well. I love what we spoke about with Pac. We could do a whole segment just on Pac because there's a lot to talk about with Pac.
Yeah, we can definitely do that. I mean, but the Tupac thing, I would suggest people just do their own research and start investigating on their own.
Yeah,
you know,
sure.
Don't believe everything you hear from DJ. Don't listen to just DJ Vlad because DJ Vlad puts a lot of misinformation out about Tupac. You know, not just him, other people.
I agree.
Go to the right sources. That's what I would suggest people to do.
Because there's a lot of people out here that what they do is they stir the pot and it makes it even harder for you to understand exactly what happened. Just stick to the facts.
Well, if you don't know all the answers or have all the details of what's going on, you won't know the whole truth.
You're gonna get thrown off.
Like I said, they make Orlando Anderson as the villain, and that's the guy that did the shooting, but yet he never was convicted. So if he was never convicted, then that means he never had solid evidence like they claiming they had.
Yeah, and they even made a whole song about it. I don't know if there's some like West Coast rapper that he redid the whole scenery from Orlando's point of view and try to make it seem as if he did the shooting and whatnot. Like that's something we got to talk about.
Oh yeah, I see that.
Yeah, we gotta.
Is he? That was more of that rapper doing that shit. He's like he said his point of view. That's what he's putting out there, and that's an opinion he has, but that don't mean it's the truth. Just because he's put that out there and saying how Orlando Anderson, he did that shit. Like I said, they would have been arrested that dude. It would have took him getting shot at a damn car wash, and then now they want to talk about how he did it. They wasn't saying that back then. Before that,
they used him.
They had him. They brought him in for questioning, and and he denied everything. And they knew they have live experts that read his body language and knew he knew something. But they still, for some reason, never got enough evidence because technically they did. They just never, like you said, they hid it from the public. They didn't want people to know exactly who's behind it.
Yeah, and Orlando, he had a big reputation for being a street guy, but at the same time, he's not stupid either. He knows that if he does something to Pac, his life's over. So we're gonna go back to this segment, man, and we're gonna break this down all the way. Destroy any kind of fake opinions that people that they might listen to, like a DJ Vlad or somebody like that. So like we just want to set the record straight because we love Pac, we love what he's done, the example that he has set for all kinds of communities, and that's mainly it. My man Kenny, he's still holding it down. He's still doing what he does, and you should definitely check out his videos at Enter the Arena, the YouTube. And we're gonna be signing out, man. Well, you got anything else you wanna plug before we go?
No, pretty much. It's just getting kind of late, and I'm getting a little tired. But we've been on the phone for a while, and I'm glad I was able to do this interview with you and get all the stuff out we needed to get out.
Facts.
And, so people aware, and because I know a lot of people wanted to hear my perspective on a lot of topics, and
for sure,
I haven't, did anything or any interviews as of late since this the COVID hit, But everybody had their little, personal issues or things going on where they had to really take breaks from YouTube and not just that, but from maybe their daily things that they do. They had to probably take a break from to focus on other things because of the COVID that kind of like messed up the economy, destabilized the economy. So a lot of people were going through, money issues and stuff.
Facts.
So,
yeah, everybody's had to switch up no matter what, who you are, what kind of class you come from. But anyway, we want to say goodbye and a big salute to Kenny Lopez once again. Thank you for coming in and showing up and being about your stuff, being about your business and promoting positivity in your field, because we know that that's what you love to do. Is you love your martial arts. You love to talk about fights and stuff like that. So we want to thank you again. Please, guys, tune in and subscribe. And you already know. Until next time, peace out, man. Respect to you guys. One love.
All right, my man. Peace out, Raph. And more love to you. And I'll be, whatever you. I know you're going to post the interview, so I'll definitely be looking forward to it, to hearing it. And I'm sure you get a lot of subscribers and views on it. And I'm definitely up to do another interview whenever you're ready.
For sure. After the fight, I want to set up something else again. We could try it again, so we could just do like a little post fight and see what we saw. But
okay,
yeah,
we can definitely do that
for sure, bro. All right, until next time, peace out, guys. Much love, respect.
All right, my man.
Take care. Have a nice night.